Hello friends. Welcome to the DxD Tales. How are you all? So we are back with an interesting movie on what if Issei awakened the infinite evolution system beyond dragons. Also be sure to subscribe and like this video. Now let's begin. Chapter 1. Awakening Beyond Boundaries. The evening breeze carried cherry blossoms across Kuo Academy's courtyard as Issei Hyodo leaned against the ancient oak tree, watching other students filter through the gates. Unlike the bustling crowds forming tight-knit social circles, he preferred these quiet moments of observation. People revealed more in unconscious movements than they ever did in conversation, a lesson his grandfather had impressed upon him before passing. Hyodo-kun, daydreaming again. Aika Kiryu adjusted her glasses with a knowing smirk. Or analyzing the social hierarchy like some anthropologist. Issei straightened, offering a half-smile that never quite reached his eyes. Just thinking about that physics problem from earlier. The one about potential energy. Right, Aika drawled, clearly unconvinced. Not cataloging everyone's walking patterns or whatever weird hobby you've picked up this month. Her assessment wasn't entirely wrong. Issei had developed an uncanny ability to notice patterns others missed, how the Kendo Club members carried themselves with centered gravity. How exchange students adjusted their stride length to match social groups they wanted to join. How even teachers revealed their moods through micro-expressions before entering classrooms. These observations had earned him few friends but many acquaintances who found his occasional insights unsettling yet useful. The school counselor had once suggested he might be neurodivergent, but Issei preferred to think of himself as selectively attentive rather than socially awkward. "There's Yuma-chan," Aika nudged him, pointing toward the gate where a raven-haired girl stood clutching her school bag. "Still can't believe she asked you out. What's your secret, anyway?" Issei's brow furrowed slightly. Yuma Amano had approached him 3 days ago, confessing romantic interest despite never having spoken to him before. The statistical improbability bothered him. Beautiful girls didn't suddenly develop feelings for unremarkable second years without cause. "No secret," he replied. "Ma, she appreciates that I don't stare at her chest like most guys here." Aika laughed. "Maybe. Well, good luck on your date tomorrow. Try not to analyze her walking gait the whole time." As she walked away, Issei focused on Yuma, noting details that continued to bother him. Her uniform from a school he couldn't identify, the way she scanned the courtyard with too perfect posture, and most concerning, how other students' eyes seemed to slide past her as if she occupied negative space in their perception. His phone vibrated with a text from his mother reminding him to pick up groceries. One last glance at the mysterious Yuma, he shouldered his bag and headed toward the local market. Later that evening, Issei sat cross-legged on his bedroom floor surrounded by disassembled computer parts. Building systems from scratch had become another pattern recognition hobby, understanding how components interacted, optimizing performance through careful analysis. "Issei, dinner's ready," his mother called from downstairs. "Coming," he replied, carefully setting aside a motherboard. His modest room reflected his methodical nature, books organized by subject and frequency of reference rather than alphabetically. A corkboard with string connecting news articles about local phenomena, and notebooks filled with observations on everything from weather patterns to behavioral quirks of classmates. During dinner, his parents chatted about neighborhood gossip while Issei mentally rehearsed conversation topics for tomorrow's date. Social interactions required preparation for Somio, who preferred observation to participation. "You're quiet tonight," his father commented between bites of curry. "Nervous about your date?" Issei considered the question. "Not nervous. Just thinking about how unusual it is." His mother beamed. "Not unusual at all. You're a handsome, intelligent boy. Girls notice these things." "Not typically," Issei countered factually. "Based on established social patterns at Kuo Academy, romantic interests develop after sustained interaction or mutual friend connections. Neither condition applies here." His father laughed. "Always the analyst. Sometimes life doesn't follow patterns, son. Enjoy the mystery." But mysteries without logical foundations bothered Issei deeply. After dinner, he searched online for information about Yuma Amano, finding nothing. No social media profiles. No school records, not even a mention in local community forums. It was as if she existed only in their brief interactions. Sleep came fitfully that night, his arms filled with falling feathers and crimson light. The next afternoon found Issei waiting at the Central Plaza fountain, dressed in dark jeans and a navy button-down, practical yet presentable. He arrived 15 minutes early, using the time to observe weekend shopping patterns and consider contingencies for awkward conversational lulls. Yuma arrived precisely on time wearing a light pink dress that complemented her delicate features. "Issei-kun, have you been waiting long?" "Not at all," he replied, noting how her smile didn't create the expected crow's feet at the corners of her eyes. "I thought we could check out the new exhibit at the Natural History Museum if you're interested." Her smile faltered momentarily. "Actually, I was hoping for something more romantic. Maybe the park by the old church." The request registered as another statistical anomaly. Most girls their age preferred crowded, social venues for first dates. Isolated locations typically came after established comfort levels. Still, Issei nodded. "The park sounds nice." They walked side by side, Yuma occasionally brushing against him in ways that seemed calculated rather than accidental. Her questions followed a peculiar pattern, asking about his family, friends, and daily routines without offering equivalent information about herself. Each deflected question about her background reinforced his unease. The park was nearly empty as sunset approached, cherry blossoms creating pink shadows across abandoned pathways. They stopped near a fountain where the splashing water would mask conversation from non-existent eavesdroppers. "Issei-kun," Yuma's voice dropped to a honeyed whisper as she stepped closer. "Would you do something for me?" Her proximity triggered his instinctive retreat, but she caught his wrist with surprising strength. "What is it? Would you die for me?" The question hung in the air, absurd yet delivered with such casual confidence that Issei momentarily wondered if he'd misheard. "Excuse me." Yuma's form shimmered, her school uniform dissolving into leather straps that barely covered mature curves. Black feathered wings erupted from her back as she grew taller, her eyes hardening from playful to predatory. "My name is Rainer," she announced, violet energy crackling between her fingers. "And I need you to die before you become a problem." Issei's analytical mind raced through possibilities: hallucination, elaborate prank, mental breakdown, but his instincts screamed danger. He attempted to step backward, but his muscles refused to cooperate. "Nothing personal," Rainer continued, forming a spear of light. "Your sacred gear could cause trouble if allowed to develop. Better to eliminate you now." Sacred gear. The term registered as significant though unknown. Before Issei could process its meaning, Rainer thrust the light spear through his chest. Pain erupted through his body as he collapsed, blood pooling beneath him. Through shock-dimmed vision, he watched Rainer flap her wings and rise skyward. "Thanks for the date," she called mockingly. "It was fun playing pretend." As consciousness faded, Issei's mind fixated not on fear or rigor, but on the illogical nature of his murder. Why elaborate deception for a simple killing? Why mention sacred gear before striking? What pattern had he missed? Darkness claimed him as crimson light began to emanate from his fallen form. System initialization sequence activated. The words appeared in Issei's mind with crystal clarity despite his body's shutdown. A mechanical voice like anything human resonated through his consciousness. Detecting catastrophic physical damage. Detecting dormant draconic energy signature. Compatibility analysis. 98.7% match. Initiating emergency integration. Pain gave way to an odd detachment as Issei felt his awareness expanding beyond physical limitations. Something ancient stirred within him, a presence powerful yet constrained. Boosted gear detected. Longinus class sacred gear. Analyzing constraints. Host biological structure insufficient for full manifestation. Reconfiguring. Secon. D presence joined the first, less ancient but more methodical, analyzing rather than reacting. Infinite evolution system online, merging with existing sacred gear framework. Recalibrating host physiology, evolutionary path established. Issei's dying consciousness perceived these entities not as invaders but as aspects of himself previously dormant. The draconic presence radiated power and pride, while the systematic one worked with cold efficiency, rewriting his very cellular structure. First evolution. Draconic foundation. Physical reconstruction commencing. Integrating light element resistance. Optimizing energy conversion pathways. His body began reconstructing itself around the spear of light, absorbing rather than rejecting the foreign energy. Blood flow reversed. Cells regenerated at impossible speeds, and neural pathways reconfigured to accommodate expanded processing capacity. Warning. Evolutionary pathway unprecedented. Multiple configurations available. Host consciousness required for selection. In this liminal space between life and death, Issei made his first conscious interaction with the system. Rather than electing maximum power or speed recovery, his analytical nature chose understanding. Show me what you are. Show me everything. Asterisk. Preference acknowledged. Prioritizing cognitive enhancement and analytical frameworks. Adjusting evolutionary trajectory. Information flooded his mind. Millennia of draconic history from the sealed consciousness of Didrag, the Red Dragon Emperor, along the intricate technical specifications of the infinite evolution system. Two distinct power structures merging into something unprecedented. Reconstruction complete. Basic functionality restored. Consciousness integration stabilized. First evolution successful. Issei's eyes snapped open, now containing vertical pupils ringed with emerald green. The spear of light had dissolved, leaving a perfectly healed chest beneath tattered, bloodied clothing. He sat up slowly, processing terabytes of newly integrated information. What am I? He whispered to the empty park. Query processed. You are Issei Hyodo. Human modified Red Dragon Emperor vessel, infinite evolution system host. You are the first triple aspect entity in recorded multiversal history. The mechanical voice no longer seemed external but rather an aspect of his own thought processes, a parallel consciousness capable of analyzing and categorizing supernatural phenomena beyond human comprehension. Issei rose unsteadily, brushing cherry blossoms from his blood-soaked clothes. His perception had fundamentally changed. He could now see energy patterns flowing through living organisms, detect residual magical signatures, and process information at speeds that made his previous analytical abilities seem primitive. A crimson glow emanated from his left hand, forming a scaled gauntlet that covered his arm to the elbow. Boosted gear. Partial manifestation. Current power level. 2.7% of maximum capacity. Evolution required for further integration. A deeper, ancient voice rumbled through his consciousness. Distinct from the mechanical system. So my new host has received an unexpected upgrade. Interesting. Didrag, Issei stated with certainty, the dragons hissed. Ori now partially accessible to his enhanced mind. The Red Dragon Emperor sealed in the sacred gear. Indeed, partner. Though something else has joined our bond. Something I've never encountered in millennia of hosts. Issei flexed his gauntleted hand, feeling power thrum through circuits that were both mechanical and organic, technological and magical. Scanning local environment. Detecting residual fallen angel energy signature. Tracking capabilities available. She'll come back when she realizes I survived, Issei reasoned aloud. I need more information before confronting her. As he turned to leave, a crimson magic circle appeared on the ground before him, intricate symbols arranged in patterns his enhanced mind immediately began decoding. From within emerged a young woman with flowing crimson hair. Her elegant school uniform immediately recognizable as Kuo Academy's. Rias Gramori, Issei identified automatically, his system providing additional information. Third-year student. Unknown energy signature. Probability of human origin. 0.02%. Asterisk. Her turquoise eyes widened slightly. You know me. Everyone at Kuo Academy knows the crimson-haired princess, Issei replied cautiously, noting how her magical aura fluctuated with surprise. Though few would expect her to appear from magical circles in abandoned parks. Rias studied him with growing interest, her gaze lingering on the scaled gauntlet. I sensed a sacred gear awakening followed by an energy spike unlike anything I've encountered. I expected to find someone dying or dead, not standing and analyzing me. Issei's enhanced perception detected subtle shifts in her posture, defensive readiness beneath casual confidence, genuine curiosity mingled with strategic assessment. Analyzing entity. Rias Gramori. Energy signature classification. Devil, high class. Power level. Substantial but constrained. Potential threat level. Moderate. Potential alliance value. Significant. Devils exist, Issei stated rather than asked, integrating this revelation with surprising calm. His enhanced mind rapidly accommodated paradigm shifts that would shatter ordinary human worldviews. Rias raised an elegant eyebrow. Your sacred gear awakened moments ago, yet you're remarkably composed about supernatural revelations. I process information differently, Issei replied simply, deciding against revealing his dual-system nature until he better understood the political landscape. A fallen angel named Rainer killed me because of this sacred gear. I revived with new abilities. Now you've appeared. I'm establishing patterns before reacting. A smile touched Rias's lips. How fascinating. Most humans would be hysterical or in denial. Instead, you're piecing together the supernatural world like a puzzle. Quote, patterns exist in everything, Issei said, unconsciously echoing his grandfather's words. Even chaos follows rules once you have sufficient data. He stepped closer to the magic circle, studying its construction with newly enhanced senses. Devil teleportation magic, structured around mathematical principles similar to non-Euclidean geometry. Fascinating. Rias watched him with growing intrigue. You can interpret magical constructs without training. I see components and connections, Issei explained, his analytical mind finding unexpected joy in unraveling supernatural mysteries. Energy flows through specific pathways to create spatial distortions. The symbols channel power but aren't the power source themselves. Evolutionary opportunity detected. Magical circuit analysis in progress. Adaptation potential. High. Rias stepped forward, her movement graceful yet purposeful. Issei Hyodo, correct. Second year, General. Why unremarkable academic record but with noted aptitude for pattern recognition and systems analysis. Lives with both parents, no significant social connections. It was Issei's turn to raise an eyebrow. You've researched me. All unusual humans in my territory are monitored, she replied unapologetically. Though clearly our assessment missed crucial details about your potential. A faint smile crossed Issei's face. As did Rainer's, apparently. Rias's expression hardened at the fallen angel's name. Fallen angels operating in my territory without authorization is concerning enough. Attacking a human with an awakening sacred gear violates several interspecies agreements. Your territory, Issei inquired, filing away this political information. This town falls under Grimoire protection, she explained, studying his reactions carefully. Devil families maintain territories in the human world through formal agreements. Issei nodded, processing the implications. And what happens to humans who discover these supernatural politics? That depends entirely on the human, Rias replied, her tone measured. Those who pose threats are handled accordingly. Those with potential may receive opportunities. The implied threat and offer were equally clear. Issei's enhanced mind calculated possible responses, selecting one that balanced honesty with strategic ambiguity. I have no interest in exposing supernatural beings, he stated calmly. But I do need to understand what I've become and why I was targeted. Knowledge is my priority, not power for its own sake. Rias's posture relaxed slightly, a refreshingly practical approach. Most sacred gear users immediately demand training to become stronger. Strength without understanding is just brute force, Issei countered. I prefer comprehension before application. A genuine smile spread across Rias's face. How very unusual. Would you like answers, Issei Hyodo? I can provide many, though I suspect you've already intuited some. Before he could respond, his enhanced senses detected a disturbance in the air, a familiar energy signature approaching rapidly. Alert. Fallen angel detected. Matching signature. Rainer. Estimated arrival. 17 seconds. We have company, Issei warned, turning toward the approaching threat. Rainer is returning. Rias's eyes widened slightly. You can sense her approach. Impressive for a newly awakened sacred gear user. 12 seconds, Issei continued, the gauntlet on his left arm pulsing with crimson energy. She'll likely attack immediately upon seeing me alive. Then perhaps we should prepare a proper greeting, Rias suggested, crimson energy gathering around her fingertips. Unless you'd prefer to handle this personally. Issei considered the tactical options. His enhanced mind processing combat scenarios with newfound clarity. Combat analysis. Current capabilities. Limited but sufficient. Recommended approach. Controlled demonstration. Evolutionary opportunity. Significant. I'd like to understand my capabilities, he decided. But backup would be appreciated. Rias nodded, stepping back with a calculating smile. Very well, show me what the Red Dragon Emperor can do. As the words left her lips, Raynor descended from above, her wings spread wide against the twilight sky. Her expression shifted from confused to shocked as she spotted Issei standing unharmed. Impossible, she hissed, creating another light spear. You should be dead. Issei felt Ddrake's power surge through the gauntlet as his system provided tactical analysis. Boost activated. Physical capabilities doubled. Analyzing opponents' attack patterns. Calculating optimal counter strategies. You mentioned a sacred gear before killing me, Issei stated calmly as Raynor hovered above. Was this what you feared? He raised his gauntleted arm, feeling power accumulate with surprising control. Unlike the raw ocean he sensed from Ddrake's consciousness, his own approach remained analytical, observing energy flows, optimizing output, calculating trajectories. Raynor's eyes widened in recognition. The boosted gear. Impossible. Our intelligence indicated dormancy for at least another year. Your intelligence was incomplete, Issei replied, noting how her wing movements betrayed her next attack vector before she moved. She hurled the light spear with deadly precision, but Issei, guided by system predictions, stepped aside with millimeter precision, the energy weapon grazing his shirt without touching skin. Light element analyzed. Structural composition catalog. Adaptation in progress. Remarkable reflexes for a newborn dragon, Raynor snarled, creating twin spears in both hands. But you clearly don't understand your weapon yet. She was right. Issei felt the power but lacked formal training in its application. Yet something deeper than training guided him now, pure analytical understanding of energy dynamics. As Raynor launched both spears simultaneously, Issei extended his gauntleted hand. Instead of dodging, he attempted something his system calculated as theoretically possible: energy redirection. Caution. Untested capability. Probability of success. 64.7%. Initiating adaptation sequence. The first spear struck his gauntlet and, rather than piercing or exploding, seemed to dissolve into particles that the scaled surface absorbed. The second spear veered off course as Issei instinctively projected an energy field that disrupted its cohesion. Raynor hovered, momentarily stunned. What are you? Issei felt the absorbed light energy integrating into his system, being analyzed, broken down to its fundamental components, and reconstituted. Light element successfully integrated. New capability unlocked. Evolutionary pathway. Elemental assimilation. Extending his non-gauntleted right hand, Issei formed a small sphere of light, similar to Raynor's spears but tinged with crimson energy. His creation lacked the raw power of the fallen angel's attacks but demonstrated a principle that made Raynor's face pale with shock. That's impossible, she shrieked. Humans can't manipulate light element. Only angels and fallen angels possess that ability. Issei studied his creation with genuine curiosity. Apparently there are exceptions. From behind him, he heard Rias inhale sharply. Clearly this development surprised her as well. Raynor's shock quickly transformed to fury. She dove toward him, creating her largest spear yet. You're an abomination that needs to be destroyed. Boost activated. Physical capabilities redoubled, recommending defensive counter. As Raynor closed the distance, Issei channeled energy through both arms, draconic power through his left, newly assimilated light through his right. The combination created a crimson-gold shield that intercepted Raynor's attack, shattering her spear and sending her tumbling backward. Warning. Power reserves at 37%. Extended combat not recommended. Conserve energy for adaptation process. Issei recognized the tactic. Wisdom of ending the confrontation quickly. Rather than pursuing Raynor as she recovered, he glanced toward Rias. I believe you mentioned having jurisdiction over supernatural conflicts in this territory. Rias stepped forward, her expression a mixture of amazement and calculation. Indeed I did. She raised her hand, releasing a wave of crimson energy that surrounded Raynor before she could escape. The destructive power in that casual gesture surpassed anything Issei had generated, confirming his assessment of Rias as the most powerful being present. Fallen Angel Raynor, Rias announced formally. You have violated the territorial agreement between the three factions by executing an unauthorized assassination attempt on a human under my protection. Raynor struggled against the binding energy, her expression shifting from rage to fear. You have no authority over the Grigori's operations, devil. Our orders come from. From whom exactly? Rias interrupted. Because I fin. It difficult to believe Governor Azazel authorized the assassination of sacred gear users rather than their observation. Such actions risk reigniting conflicts none of us wish to revisit. The political implications weren't lost on Issei, whose enhanced mind cataloged this interaction for future reference. Clearly, the supernatural world operated under diplomatic frameworks similar to human nations, with treaties and boundaries that maintained a fragile peace. Raynor's silence confirmed Rias's suspicion. As I thought, Rias continued. You're acting without official sanction. That simplifies matters considerably. Her crimson energy intensified, causing Raynor to writhe in agony. Wait, Issei interjected, surprising both women. Before executing her, I'd like information. Rias paused, curiosity evident in her expression. What information could be worth sparing a would-be assassin? Understanding, Issei replied simply. Why specifically was I targeted? What factions east within the Grigori that would authorize unsanctioned killings? Who else might be targeted? His questions revealed a strategic mind focused on larger patterns rather than personal vengeance. Rias studied him with growing appreciation before turning back to Raynor. You heard him. Provide useful information, and I may consider a punishment less permanent than obliteration. Faced with imminent destruction, Raynor's defiance crumbled. We were ordered to eliminate sacred gear users before they could be recruited by devils. Especially those with Longinus class potential. Who gave these orders? Rias pressed. Kokabeel. Raynor admitted reluctantly. He believes the peace between factions has made us weak. He wants to reignite the Great War. Rias's expression hardened. A cadre acting without Azazel's authorization. This is worse than I anticipated. Issei processed this information, his system correlating it with historical data gleaned from Ddrake's memories. The Great War between angels, fallen angels, and devils. Devastating conflict that resulted in all sides being severely weakened and God's death. Both women stared at him with shock. How could you possibly know about? Raynor began before Rias's energy tightened around her throat. What else weren't you telling me? Rias demanded. 3 more fallen angels operating in the city, Raynor gasped. Targeting other sacred gear users. The church on the hill serves as our base. Issei filed away these details while his system continued background processing. Political data integration complete. Threat assessment updated. Evolutionary priority. Defensive adaptations. Thank you for your cooperation, Rias stated coldly before turning to Issei. Any other questions before I pass judgment? Issei considered carefully. Just one. Raynor, do you believe Kokabeel would sacrifice you to achieve his goals? The fallen angel's bitter laugh answered before her words. We're all expendable to him. Pawns in a game we barely understand. Issei nodded, finding her answer consistent with emerging patterns. That's all I needed. Rias raised her hand, crimson destruction magic gathering. Raynor, for unauthorized operation in Grimoire territory, attempted murder of a human under my protection, and participation in a conspiracy to violate the peace accords, I sentence you to imprisonment rather than death. Issei interrupted, surprising himself as much as the others. She may have additional intelligence value regarding Kokabeel's operations. Rias paused, studying him with newfound respect. Strategic thinking rather than emotional vengeance. You continue to surprise me, Issei Hyodo. She modified her spell, creating a crystalline structure that encased Raynor completely. A temporal stasis field. She'll remain conscious but completely immobilized until I transfer her to proper containment facilities. As the crystal solidified, Raynor's expression froze. A mixture of fear and grudging respect directed at Issei. Behavioral analysis complete. Subject demonstrated strategic restraint. Evolutionary path adjustment. Cognitive enhancement prioritized. New ability unlocked. Enhanced diplomatic insight. Issei felt the system's approval as his mind expanded further, developing enhanced capacity for understanding political motivation. And power dynamics, an evolution triggered by his choices rather than combat necessity. Rias turned to him fully, crimson hair catching the last light of sunset. Now then, Issei Hyodo, I believe we have much to discuss. Indeed, he agreed, deactivating his gauntlet as energy levels stabilized. Though perhaps somewhere less exposed. There are still 3 fallen angels unaccounted for. Rias smiled appreciatively at his caution. My clubroom at Kuo Academy is heavily warded. We can speak freely there. She extended her hand, a new magic circle forming beneath them. Are you ready to learn about the world you've awakened into? Issei nodded, his analytical mind eager to understand the complex supernatural landscape he now inhabited. More than ready. As the teleportation circle activated, transporting them to Kuo Academy, Issei felt his existence transforming in ways that transcended even his enhanced understanding. Whatever he had been before, whatever normal life he might have lived, had ended with Rainer's light spear through his chest. What emerged instead was something unprecedented, a hybrid existence bridging human analytical thinking, draconic power, and a mysterious evolutionary system that continued integrating and optimizing with each new experience. Baseline evolution complete. Host designation updated. Dragon-human hybrid. System integration. 23% complete. Evolutionary potential. Infinite. The world dissolved in crimson light, carrying Issei toward his new reality. Kuo Academy after sunset projected an entirely different atmosphere. Gothic architecture looming against night skies, moonlight streaming through stained glass windows, shadows gathering in corners where daylight students never ventured. The old-school BU. Building housing the Occult Research Club embodied this transformation most dramatically, its Victorian aesthetics taking on genuine supernatural significance in darkness. Issei followed Rias through RNATE doors into a candlelit clubroom that resembled a Victorian parlor more than a student facility. Red velvet couches surrounded an elaborate coffee table, occult symbols adorned the walls, and a large magic circle identical to Rias's teleportation mechanism dominated the wooden floor. 4 individuals awaited their arrival, each radiating distinctive supernatural signatures that Issei's enhanced perception immediately classified. Analyzing entities. Subject 1. Akenohimejima, Devil, Fallen Angel Hybrid. Subject 2. Yuto Kiba, Devil, formerly human. Subject 3. Kaneko Toujou, Devil, Nekomata Hybrid. Subject 4. Gasper Vladi, Devil, Vampire Hybrid, contained power. Collective designation. Rias Grimoires Peerage. Everyone, Rias announced, this is Issei Hyodo. He's awakened the boosted gear after being attacked by a fallen angel. The blonde boy, Kiba, stepped forward with a friendly smile. The Red Dragon Emperor. Impressive. Welcome to our club, Akeno. The raven-haired beauty renowned throughout Kuo Academy, studied Issei with undisguised interest. Era, what an unexpected development. And he managed to survive a fallen angel's attack without prior training. The petite white-haired girl, Kaneko, merely nodded acknowledgement while continuing to eat a cookie, though her eyes revealed careful assessment. From a box in the corner at Issei initially mistook for storage came the 4th presence, Gasper, who peered out with nervous crimson eyes before retreating back into darkness. Please, sit, Rias gestured toward the couch. Akeno, would you prepare tea? As they settled into the Victorian furnishings, Issei studied each club member, noting how they positioned themselves strategically around Rias, a defensive formation disguised as casual seating. You've already determined they're not human, Rias observed, noting his analytical gaze. Your perceptive abilities are remarkable for a newly awakened sacred gear user. Issei decided on limited honesty. I perceive energy signatures and patterns. Yours register as primarily devil with varying secondary aspects. Akeno returned with tea served in fine porcelain cups. What an unusual human you've found. President. Most can barely comprehend one supernatural species, let alone detect hybridization. I'm beginning to suspect Issei-kun is far from typical, Rias replied, accepting her tea before fixing her turquoise gaze on him. Now then, I promised explanations. For the next hour, Rias outlined supernatural world fundamentals, the 3 factions of angels, fallen angels, and devils. The great war that decimated all sides, the current cold peace maintained through treaties and territory agreements, sacred gears as divine artifacts created by the biblical God, and the peerage system through which devils reincarnated worthy humans. Throughout her explanation, Issei's enhanced mind categorized and cross-referenced information against Diedrag's memories and his system's growing database, occasionally asking precise questions that revealed his rapidly expanding understanding. So devils reincarnate humans using evil pieces modeled after chess, he summarized. Each piece grants different attributes while binding the reincarnated devil to their master. You're a king, and everyone here represents different pieces in your set. Precisely, Rias confirmed. Akeno is my queen, Hiba my knight, Kaneko my rook, and Gasper my bishop. Issei nodded, understanding the political implications immediately. And you'd like to add me as your pawn using E boosted gear's value to compensate for my otherwise ordinary human limitations. His directness caused surprised expressions around the room. Rias recovered quickly, her diplomatic smile returning. You truly do perceive patterns quickly. Yes, that would be the traditional approach when discovering a sacred gear user in devil territory. Traditional but not mandatory, Issei noted, maintaining polite neutrality. Especially given complications in my particular case. Rias leaned forward, genuine curiosity overtaking recruitment intentions. What complications do you perceive? Issei considered how much to reveal. While his system advised caution regarding full disclosure, establishing some level of trust through honesty seemed strategically sound. The boosted gear awakened under unusual circumstances. He explained carefully. It's merged with another system that's continuing to analyze and adapt to supernatural energies. I'm not certain devil reincarnation would integrate properly with these ongoing changes. Advisory. Partial disclosure recommended. Maintain strategic ambiguity. Alliance beneficial but independence crucial. Akeno tilted her head, studying him with sharpened interest. Another system alongside a Longinus class sacred gear. That would be unprecedented. Which explains abilities that should be impossible, Rias mused. Like absorbing and redirecting light element despite having neither angelic nor fallen angel lineage. Hiba leaned forward. You can manipulate light. That ability doesn't exist in any known sacred gear except divine dividing. And that works through entirely different principles. Issei nodded, demonstrating by creating a small sphere of light in his palm, identical to those Raynor had wielded but without her raw power. The ability manifested after analyzing fallen angel attacks. It's functional but limited. Kaneko spoke for the first time, her tone flat but eyes intensely focused. Adaptation ability, not copying. True integration. Her assessment was remarkably accurate, reinforcing Issei's suspicion about her heightened senses. Yes, analysis followed by incorporation rather than mimicry. Rias set down her teacup. All pretense of casual recruitment abandoned. In all recorded devil history, no sacred gear has demonstrated evolutionary adaptation of rival supernatural powers. What exactly awakened within you, Issei Hyodo? The direct question demanded careful response, revealing enough to establish trust while maintaining sufficient mystery to preserve independence. Diplomatic response formulated, balancing disclosure and protection. Recommended approach, controlled demonstration. Perhaps it's easier to show you, Issei decided, extending his left arm. The boost, Ed gear manifested immediately, emerald gem pulsing with draconic energy. But rather than stopping there, he channeled consciousness toward his evolutionary system. Interface visualization authorized. Generating external manifestation. Limited display only. Around the gauntlet appeared holographic displays visible to all present. Data streams, evolutionary pathways, energy conversion metrics, and adaptation potential analyses. The information appeared as both mathematical formulas and three-dimensional models rotating in air. This system activated simultaneously with the boosted gear. Issei explained as the devil stared in astonishment. It's analyzing all supernatural energies I encounter, developing adaptations, and establishing evolutionary pathways beyond conventional limitations. Rias slowly circled him, studying the displays with growing wonder. This isn't demonic, angelic, or draconic in origin. It's something else entirely. It resembles advanced magical formulas, Akeno observed, but operates on principles of never encountered. Hiba reached toward a floating diagram before stopping himself. The structured approach suggests technological rather than magical origins. Yet it interfaces perfectly with supernatural energies. Weird, Kaneko stated simply, though her wide eyes betrayed fascination. From his box, Gasper peered with newfound courage, drawn by the unprecedented display. It's beautiful, he whispered. Like seeing magic's underlying code. Issei allowed the visualization to continue for several minutes, giving them time to Appreciate its complexity before dismissing both the holographic interface and the boosted gear. As you can see, he concluded, my condition is unique and still developing. While I appreciate your offer of devil reincarnation, I believe maintaining my current evolutionary path may prove more valuable, both to myself and potentially to your faction's interests. Rias returned to her seat, fingers steepled in thought. You're declining my offer of peerage membership. I'm proposing an alliance rather than servitude, Issei clarified diplomatically. My abilities may better serve devil interests through independent development rather than conventional reincarnation. A calculating smile spread across Rias's face. How very interesting. Most humans would jump at immortality, enhanced powers, and devil protection. Most humans haven't analyzed the political implications of peerage bonds, Issei countered. The chessman may gain power, but ultimately serves the king's strategy. Instead of offense, Rias laughed with genuine delight. Absolutely fascinating. You've processed in hours what takes most reincarnated devils years to comprehend. She rose gracefully, extending her hand. Very well, Issei Hyodo. I propose a formal alliance between House Grimoire and the Red Dragon Emperor's unprecedented evolutionary path. Protection and information exchange without peerage bonds. Issei accepted her handshake, noting how his system immediately began analyzing the magical energy signature in her bloodline. Analyzing. GREMORY bloodline traits. Power of destruction identified. Adaptation potential. Significant. Alliance evaluation. Strategically advantageous. Agreement accepted, he confirmed. Though I suspect Rainer's superiors won't be pleased with this development. Let them come, Rias declared with aristocratic confidence. Huo Town remains Grimoire territory, and now houses both my peerage and the most interesting sacred gear user I've encountered in my young life. Akino approached with a fresh cup of tea. This arrangement will certainly cause ripples across faction politics. The houses will gossip endlessly about Rias Grimoire all Ying with rather than claiming the Red Dragon Emperor. Let them gossip, Rias dismissed casually. Father and brother will understand once they meet our new ally. Issei accepted the tea, recognizing the political significance of this moment, his first formal supernatural alliance, established on terms of equality rather than subservience. Speaking of ripples, he noted, we still have 3 fallen angels operating in town. Targeting other sacred gear users. Kiba's expression hardened. The church on the hill. We've detected unusual energy there but couldn't investigate without risking territorial violations. With confirmed hostile intent from Rainer, we now have justification, Rias determined. We'll investigate tomorrow night after proper preparation. I should join you, Issei suggested. Seeing an opportunity for further system development. Each supernatural encounter provides valuable data for my evolution. Kaneko eyed him skeptically. Combat experience. Limited, Issei admitted honestly. But improving rapidly. Combat simulation program available. Tactical analysis capability. Advanced. Physical execution. Developing. Combat experience comes through combat. Kiba offered with a friendly smile. I'd be happy to provide training sessions before we face actual threats. An excellent suggestion, Rias agreed. Kiba can help with physical combat while I assist with magical theory. Your evolutionary system may benefit from exposure to diverse training approaches. Issei nodded, appreciating both the practical offer and the unstated political maneuvering. By investing in his development, Rias strengthened their alliance while maintaining observation of his capabilities. As the meeting concluded, arrangements were made for Issei to join the Occult Research Club as official cover for their supernatural cooperation. Returning home would require careful explanations to his parents about his bloodied clothing, though his system already formulated plausible excuses involving bicycle accidents. Before departing, Rias drew Issei aside for a private word. One last thing, your evolutionary abilities are unprecedented and will attract attention from all factions once word spreads. Be cautious about who learns your full capabilities. I appreciate the warning, Issei replied. Though I suspect concealment will become easingly difficult as evolution progresses. Rias studied him with genuine concern beneath her political calculation. What exactly do you believe you're becoming, Issei? The question struck deeper than she likely intended. Touching philosophical implications his enhanced mind had already begun exploring. I don't know, he admitted with rare uncertainty. The system refers to infinite evolution, suggesting no predetermined endpoint. Each adaptation creates new possibilities rather than following a fixed path. That's both fascinating and concerning, Rios observed. Beings without limb. It's traditionally threatened supernatural balance. Issei nodded, acknowledging the legitimate concern. Which is why alliances and ethical foundations matter more than raw power development. Evolution, without purpose or principle, leads to monstrous outcomes. Rios's expression softened, a surprisingly wise perspective for someone so newly introduced to supernatural politics. Pattern recognition applies to ethics as well as power systems, Issei replied. History shows that unchecked ability without moral frameworks invariably leads to corruption. Indeed it does, Rios agreed thoughtfully. Perhaps your most valuable evolution isn't power adaptation but maintaining human ethical reasoning alongside growing capabilities. As Issei prepared to depart through Rios's teleportation circle, Diedrag's consciousness stirred within him. Interesting perspectives for a young host. Most immediately demand training to crush enemies. Power without understanding is meaningless, Issei responded internally. I prefer comprehensive knowledge before application. An unusual approach in my millennia of hosts. Perhaps this unprecedented evolution applies to wisdom as well as ability. The dragon's observation resonated with Issei's own thoughts as the teleportation circle activated, returning him to the park where his ordinary life had ended and extraordinary evolution had begun. Standing alone beneath cherry trees now silver in moonlight, Issei contemplated the day's transformation. In mere hours, he had died as an ordinary human, revived as something unprecedented, battled a fallen angel, declined devil reincarnation, and established his first supernatural alliance. System status report. Evolution progress. Accelerating. New data integration. 73% complete. Adaptation pathways expanding exponentially. Current limitation. Physical vessel capacity. As his system continued background processing, Issei gazed upward at stars now visible to him in wavelengths beyond human perception. Whatever path lay ahead, whatever evolution awaited, one principle would guide his development: understanding before power, knowledge before application, wisdom before strength. The infinite evolution system had awakened alongside draconic power, but Issei's human analytical mind would determine how that evolution proceeded. Not through blind ambition or thirst for dominance, but through careful study of each new pattern revealed. Tomorrow would bring combat training with devil allies and confrontation with fallen angel enemies. Beyond that lay a supernatural world of ancient beings and complex politics. And somewhere in that vast landscape of possibilities existed answers to what he was becoming, what it meant to evolve beyond conventional limitations. Issei Hyodo, human analyst, Red Dragon Emperor, and host to unprecedented evolutionary potential, turned toward home, ready to begin the next phase of his transformation. Whatever challenges awaited, whatever powers emerged, his fundamental approach remained unchanged. Observe, analyze, understand, then act. The cherry blossoms swirled around him as he walked away, marking the end of his first day of infinite evolution. Chapter 1 End Chapter 2, Fractal Analysis. Morning light filtered through Issei's bedroom window, casting geometric patterns across his ceiling. He hadn't slept. Instead, he'd spent the night in deep meditation, exploring the internal architecture of the infinite evolution system while his body processed the previous day's adaptations. System integration. 42% complete. Physiological modifications stabilized. Energy circulation pathways established. Cognitive enhancement. Operational. The notifications appeared in his mind's eye as crystalline data structures rather than simple text. Multidimensional frameworks containing both information and functional components. Within this mental space, Issei could manipulate system parameters, review adaptation logs, and examine evolutionary pathways with unprecedented clarity. He opened his eyes, noting how his perception continued to develop. The room appeared in standard visual spec. Trum overlaid with energy signatures, electrical current flowing through walls, residual magical particles from his transformation, even the subtle life energy of a spider constructing its web in the corner. Fascinating, he murmured, extending his hand toward the arachnid. His enhanced vision detected its minuscule energy signature, a complex fractal pattern unique to its species. Biological analysis capability detected. Cataloging life energy signatures. Taxonomic database initializing. This unexpected development indicated the system's autonomous learning capabilities extended beyond combat applications. Each new observation expanded its analytical frameworks, creating specialized subsystems without conscious direction. His phone vibrated with a text message from Rias. Training begins at 7 a.m. Club building. Asterisk. Issei checked the time. 5:47 a.m. Sufficient for morning routine modifications and travel to Kuo Academy. Rising from his meditative position, he caught his reflection in the mirror. Subtle changes had manifested overnight. His irises now contained flecks of emerald green surrounding vertical pupils that contracted to thin slits in direct light. His previo, USLY average physique showed marginally enhanced muscle definition. Most notably, a small crimson scale pattern had formed over his heart, precisely where Rainer's light spear had pierced him. Phi, SIOLOGICAL transformation, 17% complete. Draconic integration progressing. Estimated human appearance maintenance, 94.3%. The system's assessment proved accurate. His changes remained subtle enough to avoid immediate notice. Still, long-term physiological evolution would require planning to maintain his human public identity. After a quick shower, Issei dressed in workout clothes his school uniform and packed additional supplies. His parents remained asleep, allowing him to leave a note about early study sessions rather than attempting complex explanations. The pre-dawn street streets of Kuo town revealed previously invisible details to his enhanced senses, residual magical signatures lingering at crossroads, subtle boundary markers indicating supernatural territories, even he occasional non-human entity disguised as ordinary wildlife. The world had always contained these elements, but only now could he perceive their presence. As he approached Kuo Academy, Issei detected multiple supernatural signatures concentrated in the old school building. Rias and her peerage had arrived early, along with another devil presence he hadn't encountered previously. The clubroom door opened before he could knock, revealing Akano in a traditional Miko outfit rather than her school uniform. Era, perfectly punctual, she greeted with an enigmatic smile. And already perceiving energy signatures through walls. I see. Issei nodded politely. Good morning, Himahima senpai. Your traditional attire suggests formal magical training rather than physical combat. Her eyes widened slightly at his deduction. My, you truly do analyze everything. Yes, we've planned diverse training approaches based on your unique situation. She led him into the clubroom, where furniture had been cleared to create open space. Rias stood conversing with an unfamiliar young woman with silver hair arranged in an elegant braid. Both wore formal magical attire rather than school uniforms. Issei, welcome, Rias greeted. I'd like you to meet Sona Citri, heiress to House Citri and student council president here at Kuo. The silver-haired woman adjusted her glasses while studying him with calculated intensity. So this is the anomalous sacred gear user you mentioned. His energy signature is unusual. Analyzing entity, Sona Citri. Energy classification, devil, high class. Magical specialization, water element, strategic constructs. Political significance, substantial. Potential threat assessment, moderate. Potential alliance value, high. Citri territory borders Grimoire Holdings. Issei stated, integrating political information gleaned from Rias's previous explanations. Your presence suggests either concern about territorial implications or interest in strategic cooperation. Sona's eyebrows rose marginally. Direct and perceptive. Rias mentioned your analytical tendencies, but experiencing them firsthand is different. Sona oversees the eastern portion of town while my family manages the western regions, Rias explained. Any significant supernatural development requires mutual awareness. Translation. Issei represented a potentially destabilizing force requiring monitoring from both devil houses. His capacity for threat assessment appreciated the pragmatism. I understand, he acknowledged. Political stability benefits everyone. Sona studied him for several more seconds before nodding. Refreshingly practical. Most sacred gear users resist supervision or demand exceptional treatment. Patterns exist in politics as in power, Issei replied. Establishing clear parameters prevents unnecessary conflicts. A slight smile touched Sona's lips. Indeed. Well, Rias, your new ally appears reasonable. I'll observe T. Ode's training to establish baseline capabilities before reporting to my family. The clubroom door opened again as Kiba entered wearing training clothes, carrying practice swords of various designs. Behind him, Kaneko followed in a martial arts GI, her expression stoic as always. Let's begin with physical assessment, Rias decided. Kiba will evaluate your combat instincts while Kaneko tests your strength parameters. Issei nodded, removing his school uniform to reveal workout clothes underneath. As he prepared, his system initiated combat analysis protocols. Combat assessment sequence initiated. Analyzing opponent. Yuto Kiba. Classification. Devil Knight. Specialization. Speed, sword techniques. Recommended approach. Analytical defense, pattern recognition. The training began in the forest behind the old school building, a secluded area warded against human observation. Kiba stood opposite Issei, practice sword held in relaxed yet perfect form. Don't worry about getting hurt, Kiba assured him with a friendly smile. Devils heal quickly, and I'll control my speed. Issei appreciated the courtesy but remained focused on observation. Please don't hold back excessively. My system needs accurate data on devil combat techniques. Kiba looked to Rias, who nodded permission. Very well, I'll start at 20% capacity and increase gradually. Without further warning, Kiba vanished. Or rather, moved at speeds barely perceptible to ordinary human vision. To Issei's enhanced perception, however, the movement appeared as a blur rather than teleportation. Analyzing movement pattern. Speed. Approximately 127 km/h. Trajectory prediction algorithm activating. As Kiba's practice sword descended toward his shoulder, Issei sidestepped, not where Kiba was, but where mathematical prediction placed him. The wooden blade missed by centimeters. Kiba's eyes widened slightly. You tracked my movement, not visually, Issei clarified. Mathematically, your acceleration follows consistent patterns despite the speed. This explanation earned interested looks from both devil heiresses observing from the sidelines. Sona leaned toward Rias, whispering something that Issei's enhanced hearing caught perfectly. Pattern prediction rather than enhanced reflexes. Fascinating approach. Kiba increased his speed for the next attack, approaching from 3 different angles in rapid succession. Issei managed to evade the first 2 strikes but the third caught his forearm, a solid hit that would have disabled an ordinary human. Impact force analysis. Substantial. Damage assessment. Minimal. Enhanced durability confirmed. Attack pattern catalog. Instead of pain, Issei experienced the blow as valuable data, force metrics, angle trajectories, and biomechanical efficiency all quantified by his system. The injury itself healed within seconds, draconic regeneration sealing the bruised tissue. Enhanced durability and rapid healing. Kiba observed professionally. Common with dragon-type sacred gears, but the analytical approach is unique. Their exchange continued for 20 minutes, Kiba gradually I.N.C. raising speed and complexity while Issei's system accumulated combat data. Though physically outmatched in every category, Issei's prediction algorithms improved with each exchange, allowing him to avoid approximately 40% of strikes by the session's conclusion. Impressive learning curve, Kiba commented as they paused for water. Most beginners would still be seeing stars after the first few hits. Your techniques follow mathematical principles even when varying attacks, Issei explained. Each motion creates predictable follow-up possibilities based on momentum conservation and biomechanical efficiency. Kiba laughed. You make swordsmanship sound like physics homework. All movement obeys physical laws, Issei replied simply. Even supernatural speed has patterns. Next came strength assessment with Kaneko, whose diminutive form belied tremendous physical power. Their session involved basic strikes against training dummies rather than direct sparring, allowing Issei to observe her technique without risking serious injury. Analyzing entity. Kaneko Toujou. Physical strength. Exceptional. Energy utilization. Highly efficient. Technique analysis. Senjutsu-based foundation detected. Your strength derives from more than devil physiology, Issei noted after watching her demolish a reinforced training dummy. There's an energy manipulation component. Kaneko froze momentarily before her eyes narrowed. Don't analyze me. The sudden hostility suggested he'd touched a sensitive topic. Apologies. My system automatically catalogs energy patterns. Her expression remained guarded, but she continued demonstrating basic striking techniques for him to emulate. Though Issei lacked her raw strength, his system integrated the mechanical efficiency of her movements, improving his form with each repetition. Not terrible, she grudgingly acknowledged after his 20th attempt shattered a wooden board. Quick learner. Following Phys. ICAL assessment came magical theory with Akeno and Rias. They moved to a specialized chamber beneath the old school building, a perfectly circular room inscribed with arcane symbols and reinforced against magical accidents. Devil magic differs fundamentally from other supernatural systems, Rias explained, creating a small crimson sphere between her palms. It manifests through imagination and will rather than incantations or formulas. Quote, Issei studied the energy construct with his enhanced perception, observing how power flowed from her magical core through precise pathways to materialize as destruction energy. Analyzing magical construct, power of destruction, GREMORY, Baal bloodline ability. Entropy manipulation at quantum level, adaptation potential, significant but complex. Underlying principle, imagination actualization. I see the framework, Issei murmured, fascinated by the mathematical elegance beneath apparent chaos. Devil magic uses emotional cone, ITIVE resonance to bypass standard thaumaturgical requirements. Akeno tilted her head. That's remarkably accurate for someone with no formal magical education. The system analyzes underlying principles rather than surface manifestations, Issei explained. Magic follows consistent rules regardless of cultural frameworks. Sona stepped forward, adjusting her glasses. An interesting hypothesis. Let's test it. She created a complex magical circle that materialized as flowing water suspended in midair, a completely different elemental expression than Rias's destruction energy. Analyze this construct, she challenged. Tell me how it differs fundamentally from Rias's magic despite both being devil-based. Issei focused his enhanced perception on the water formation, allowing his system to deconstruct its mathematical properties. Analyzing magical construct, water manipulation, C-tree bloodline ability, molecular cohesion control at quantum level, comparison to power of destruction, analyzing. Fundamental difference, creative versus destructive principle. Both abilities manipulate matter at quantum levels, Issei began, carefully articulating what his system revealed. However, Grimoire destruction magic accelerates entropy, essentially encouraging matter to return to chaotic state. C-tree water manipulation does the opposite, imposing order on molecular movement to maintain cohesion against natural dispersion. Both devil heiresses stared at him with unconcealed surprise. That's exactly correct, Sona acknowledged, her composed facade momentarily slipping. Few magical theorists outside the highest devil academics would articulate the distinction so precisely. The system sees mathematical relationships that I then interpret, Issei clarified. Not wanting to claim unearned expertise, I'm translating its analysis into understandable terms. Rias exchanged a meaningful glance with Sona. This analytical capability could revolutionize magical theory if properly developed. Indeed, Sona agreed. The ability to perceive fundamental principles across diverse magical systems has significant implications. Issei recognized the political calculation beneath their academic interest. His ability represented potential strategic advantage for devil research. Rather than resist this assessment, he acknowledged its validity while establishing boundaries. I'm happy to share theoretical insights gained through my system, he stated diplomatically. Knowledge benefits all parties when properly exchanged. This careful phrasing, offering cooperation without submission, earned approving nods from both heiresses. Well then, Rias continued, let's see if you can apply this theoretical understanding practically. Try my knife. Sting a simple magical construct using devil methodology. Issei nodded, recalling the process he'd observed. Devil magic required imagination shaping will, with power drawn from internal reserves rather than external formulas. Analyzing magical requirement. Compatible energy reserves detected. Initiating devil pattern manifestation. Caution. First attempt recommend minimal power allocation. Following the system's guidance, Issei focused on creating the simplest construct, a small sphere of light. He visualized precise dimensional parameters while channeling energy through pathways mirroring those he'd observed in Rias and Sona. Between his palms, energy coalesced, not crimson like Rias's or liquid like Sona's, but a unique emerald green with fractal patterns swirling across its surface. The sphere pulsed with stable energy, maintaining perfect cohesion despite being his first attempt. Extraordinary, Akino murmured. Perfect formation without prior training. Rias circled him, studying the construct with undisguised fascination. The color matches your draconic energy, but the structure resembles devil methodology. A hybrid application. The fractal patterns are particularly interesting. Sona observed analytically. They suggest mathematical precision beyond normal magical constructs. Issei studied his creation, noting how the system had automatic ally optimized energy distribution through recursive patterns. It's applying efficiency algorithms to magical formation, minimizing energy expenditure while maximizing structural integrity. Devil Magic Framework integrated. Efficiency 74% above baseline. Hybrid magical pathway established. New capability unlocked. Fractal manifestation. As training continued throughout the morning, Issei demonstrated increasing facility with basic magical constructs, each bearing the distinctive fractal patterns that optimized their function. Though lacking the raw power of inherited devil abilities, his constructs demonstrated unprecedented efficiency and precision. By midday, even Sona appeared impressed. Your analytical approach creates advantages that compensate for power limitations. Most beginners struggle with control rather than output. Efficiency before power, Issei agreed. Understanding fundamentals enables optimization. The training session concluded with a practical application discussion. Tonight they would investigate the abandoned church where Rainer had indicated other fallen angels operated. Hiba sketched the building's layout while Rias outlined tactical considerations. Our primary goal is intelligence gathering, she explained. We need to confirm how many fallen angels remain and whether they've captured any sacred gear users. Direct confrontation only if necessary. Sona added pragmatically. Unauthorized aggression could violate faction agreements despite their initial hostility. Issei studied the crude map, his system automati. Callie converting it to a three-dimensional tactical model. What about Rainer? Will you bring her for leverage? She remains in secure containment, Rias replied. Using captured enemies as negotiation pieces can backfire tactically. He nodded, appreciating the strategic assessment. And my role? Observation primarily, Rias decided. Your analytical abilities may detect details we miss, your combat experience remains limited despite this morning's progress. The pragmatic evaluation aligned with Issei's own assessment. Though his system continued integrating combat data, practical application required more development. As they prepared to separate until evening, Sona approached Issei privately. Rias mentioned you declined peerage membership in favor of alliance. An unusual choice. Evolution requires flexibility, Issei explained simply. Peerage bonds might constrain adaptation pathways. Sona studied him carefully. Logical but incomplete reasoning. You also recon. IZED the political implications of servitude despite benefits. Her perceptiveness warranted honesty. Independence maintains negotiating position across faction boundaries. Evolution may require diverse supernatural influences rather than single faction alignment. A genuine smile touched her lips. Refreshingly pragmatic. Most sacred gear users think only of immediate power rather than long-term positioning. Pattern recognition applies to politics as well as power, Issei replied. Indeed it does, Sona acknowledged. House Citri values intellectual approach to supernatural challenges. Should you ever reconsider devil allegiance, our door remains open. The subtle recruitment attempt confirmed Issei's assessment of his strategic value in devil politics. Both Grimoire and Citri House recognized potential advantages in securing his allegiance. Maintaining independence while fostering multiple alliances offered optimal evolutionary pathways. I appreciate diverse perspectives, he responded diplomatically. Knowledge exchange benefits all parties. Sona nodded, recognizing the carefully neutral response. Until tonight, then, I'll be coordinating perimeter security while Rias leads the direct investigation. As the devils departed to prepare, Issei returned to regular classes for afternoon sessions. The transition from supernatural training to mundane education created Cognitive dissonance. Discussing algebra after analyzing quantum-level magical principles seemed almost comically trivial. During history class, however, a new opportunity presented itself. The regular teacher had fallen ill, replaced by a substitute who introduced herself as Ms. Rossweiss, a striking silver-haired woman whose Norwegian accent suggested foreign origin. Analyzing entity. ROSSWEISSE. Energy signature classification. Valkyrie, suppressed. Magical specialization. Runic constructs, defensive arrays. Disguise effectiveness. 92% to human perception. Potential threat assessment. Moderate. Potential knowledge value. Exceptional. Issei straightened in his seat, immediately intrigued by the presence of Norse mythology in Kuo. A Valkyrie teaching Hig. School history suggested either diplomatic mission or covert operation. Unlike most students struggling to focus on her lecture about medieval European power structures, Issei paid careful attention, not to the historical content, but to the subtle runic inscriptions concealed within her chalk drawings on the blackboard. Each historical map contained perfectly integrated magical formulas invisible to ordinary perception. When class ended, Issei deliberately took extra time gathering his materials, allowing other students to leave first. As the room emptied, he approached the substitute Tiak, her's desk with careful respect for potential cultural protocols. Fascinating lecture, Ms. Rossweiss, he began politely. Especially the runic integration within the territorial boundary illustrations. Her chalk froze mid-stroke against the blackboard, her posture stiffening almost imperceptibly. "I'm afraid I don't understand what you mean," she replied without turning. "The defensive aura. Why disguised as the Carolingian Empire's borders," Issei clarified quietly. "Particularly elegant work. I've never seen Futhark principles applied with such mathematical precision." She turned slowly, studying him with new intensity. "You can perceive runic structures without training. Recent developments have enhanced my perception," he explained carefully. "Your work combines Old Norse principle less with modern magical efficiency algorithms." Rossweiss glanced toward the closed classroom door before responding, her voice shifting to a more formal cadence. "You're the anomalous sacred gear user the devils have been discussing. The one with analytical capabilities." Issei nodded. "Issei Hyodo. Recently awakened under unusual circumstances." "Unusual indeed if you can perceive concealed runic work," she acknowledged. "What exactly do you want, Mr. Hyodo?" "Knowledge exchange," he replied honestly. "Norse magical theory represents a structured approach fundamentally different from devil methodology. Understanding diverse systems accelerates my development." She raised an elegant eyebrow. "Most sacred gear users seek power techniques, not theoretical foundations. Power without understanding is inefficient." Issei countered. "Norse magic's mathematical precision suggests optimal knowledge to application ratio." This assessment seemed to surprise her. "That's actually quite accurate. Asgardian magical traditions emphasize structured formula over raw power expression." "Precisely why it interests me," Issei confirmed. "My system prioritizes efficiency through comprehensive understanding." Rossweiss studied him for several moments before coming to a decision. "I have limited time in this assignment. However, I could share basic theoretical principles during lunch periods if your interest is genuine." "It is," Issei assured her. "May I ask the nature of your assignment here?" "For context only." A flicker of hesitation crossed her face before she answered. "Observation primarily. The convergence of multiple pantheons, interests in this region has drawn Asgard's attention." Translation. Odin had sent a Valkyrie to monitor the unusual supernatural activity in Kuo, particularly around Issei himself. The political implications reinforced his assessment of evolutionary independence. Remaining unaligned allowed access to multiple supernatural knowledge bases. "I appreciate your candor," Issei acknowledged. "Knowledge exchange benefits both parties while respecting operational boundaries." A small smile touched Rossweiss's lips. "Quite the diplomat for one so young." "Very well, Mr. Hyodo. Tomorrow's lunch period in this classroom. I'll introduce basic runic principles if you'll demonstrate these analytical capabilities I've heard mentioned." "Agreed," Issei confirmed with a respectful nod. "Thank you for the opportunity." As he departed for his next class, Issei's system cataloged this development as strategically significant. Access T. Norse magical theory would diversify his evolutionary pathways beyond devil and dragon frameworks. Alliance network expanding. Knowledge acquisition pathways diversifying. Evolutionary potential increasing. Twilight shrouded the abandoned church on the hill as Issei approached the meeting point in nearby woods. The building's dilapidated exterior concealed active magical signatures visible to his enhanced perception. Fallen angel energy concentrated primarily underground, suggesting a concealed facility beneath the main structure. Rias and her peerage awaited him alongside Sona and a tall female devil Issei hadn't previously met. "My queen, Tsubaki Shinra," Sona introduced as he joined them. "She'll assist with perimeter security while we investigate." Analyzing entity. Tsubaki Shinra. Classification. Devil Queen. Specialization. Mirror-based abilities, defensive counter. Potential alliance value. Moderate. Issei exchanged polite greetings before turning his attention to the church. 3 distinct fallen angel signatures detected. Power levels comparable to Raynor. Additional human presences underground. Approximately 12 individuals with varied energy patterns. Rias raised an eyebrow. "You can sense all that from this distance." "My perception range expanded after analyzing devil magical theory," Issei explained. Pattern recognition applies across increasing distances. Kiba unsheathed a sword that radiated anti-holy energy. "Can you determine if any humans are sacred gear users?" Issei focused his enhanced perception, allowing the system to analyze subtle energy variations. 2 potential sacred gear signatures. 1 active but unstable, suggesting recent awakening. 1 dormant but resonating with external stimuli. Extraction operations, Sona deduced grimly. They're removing sacred gears from humans. The implications silenced the group momentarily. Sacred gear extraction invariably killed the human saint, a violation of multiple supernatural treaties. This confirms hostile intent beyond isolated assassination attempts, Rias determined, her expression hardening. Diplomatic approaches are no longer primary concern. Sona nodded agreement. Rules of engagement shift when confronting active extraction operations. Rescue becomes priority. The tactical discussion that followed demonstrated efficient coordination between the 2 devil groups, with Issei providing analytical input regarding optimal entry points based on energy distribution. They settled on a 3-pronged approach. Kiba and Kaneko would secure the main entrance. Akeno would provide aerial support and barrier disruption, while Rias and Issei would target the underground facility directly through a concealed side entrance. "Remember," Sona cautioned as they prepared to move, "evidence collection remains secondary objective. Document extraction activities for faction leadership." The implication was clear: properly documented treaty violations would justify devil intervention without political blowback from other factions. As they approached their designated positions, Issei activated his boosted gear, the scaled gauntlet materializing around his left arm with practiced ease. Alongside it, his system initiated combat protocols. Combat sequence initiated. Analyzing tactical environment. Enemy distribution mapping complete. Optimization parameters. Rescue priority. Rias glanced at him as they reached the concealed entrance, a maintenance door partially obscured by overgrowth. "Stay behind me initially. Observe and analyze before engaging." Issei nodded, appreciating her pragmatic approach to his limited combat experience. "Understood. I'll provide tactical insights as patterns emerge." With a gesture from Rias, Akeno created a localized lightning strike that disabled external wards while simultaneously signaling the operation's commencement. The coordinated attack began with mechanical precision. Kiba and Kaneko breached the main entrance while Tsubaki established barrier containment preventing fallen angel escape. Rias placed her palm against the maintenance door, crimson destruction energy dissolving the lock mechanism. "Remember, our primary targets are the fallen angels conducting extractions. Rogue exorcists are secondary concerns unless directly threatening hostages." The door swung open to reveal a narrow stairwell descending beneath the church. Rias led the way. Destruction magic gathered around her hands, while Issei followed closely, his system mapping our descent against the energy signatures detected from outside. Mapping subterranean complex. Comparing against external readings. Hostage location. Identified. Optimal rescue route. Calculating. Second level. Eastern chamber. Issei whispered as they reached the bottom of the stairs. Sacred gear extraction preparation in progress. 3 humans unconscious. 2 fallen angels present. Rias glanced back with newfound respect for his analytical capabilities. You can determine all that from here. Energy patterns have distinctive signatures during specific activities, he explained. Extraction preparations create unique resonance frequencies. They encountered their first resistance in the form of 2 exorcists patrolling the underground corridor, humans wielding Ite-based weapons who reacted with immediate hostility upon spotting them. Devil scum. The first exorcist snarled, drawing a light sword that hummed with holy energy. Your kind isn't welcome in sacred ground. Before Rias could respond, both attackers charged with reckless aggression. Issei's system immediately analyzed their movement patterns, trained but undisciplined, relying on holy weepo. Enna's effectiveness against devils rather than tactical sophistication. Rias dispatched the first attacker with casual efficiency, a sphere of destruction energy enveloping him before he could close half the distance. The second managed to reach striking range, his light sword arcing toward Issei with killing intent. Attack pattern analyzed, counter trajectory calculated, light element manipulation engaged. Rather than dodging, Issei raised his non-gauntleted right hand and manifested a small light construct, not as a weapon, but as a disruption field. When the exorcist's blade contacted his energy construct, the holy sword's coherence wavered momentarily, creating an opening for Issei to deliver a precise strike to the attacker's wrist. The exorcist's weapon clattered to the floor as he staggered backward, expression shifting from hatred to confusion. What the hell? You're using light element. What kind of devil are you? Not devil, Issei corrected calmly. Something else entirely. Before the exorcist could process this information, Issei followed with a calculated strike to a precise nerve cluster, rendering him unconscious without permanent damage. Rias observed this exchange with evident interest. You disrupted holy energy using light element manipulation. That shouldn't be possible for most beings outside the angelic spectrum. Adaptation continues expanding capability parameters. Issei explained, examining the fallen light sword with analytical curiosity. Previous exposure to fallen angel weapons provided baseline understanding. He picked up the sword, studying its construction while his system analyzed its energy composition. Analyzing weapon. Light sword. Construction. Human-modified holy element. Adaptation opportunity. Substantial. Integrating structural patterns. The weapon began dissolving in his grip, its energy signature breaking down into component patterns that his system absorbed for analysis. Within seconds, only the mundane hilt remained. Fascinating, Rias murmured. You didn't just disrupt it, you deconstructed and absorbed its fundamental properties. Issei nodded, equally intrigued by this development. The system analyzes supernatural constructs to their base components. This appears to include weaponized applications. A distant scream interrupted their discussion, followed by the distinctive resonance of active sacred gear extraction. Rias's expression hardened as she accelerated toward the eastern chamber, Issei following close behind. They burst through reinforced doors to find a horrific scene. 3 humans strapped to ceremonial tables, complex magical circles inscribed beneath them. 2 fallen angels maintained the extraction ritual while a third supervised from an elevated platform. One victim was already dead, a crystalline object floating above his chest containing his extracted sacred gear. Stop the ritual, Rias commanded, destruction energy gathering around her in crimson waves. By authority of House Grimori, territorial administrator of Kuo. The supervising fallen angel, a middle-aged man with calculating eyes, merely smiled. You're too late for one already. The question is whether you can save the others before the extraction completes. Issei's system immediately analyzed the extraction circles, identifying critical nodes and power distribution pathways. Analyzing ritual configuration. Critical junction points identified. Disruption strategy formulated, recommending precision strikes rather than power negation. The circles can be disrupted at 3 precise points, Issei informed Rias urgently. Destroying key nodes will collapse the entire structure without harming the subjects. Rias didn't hesitate, trusting his analysis implicitly. Target them. While she engaged the supervising fallen angel with devastating power projection, Issei focused on systematic disruption. Creating 3 small fractal patterned energy constructs. He launched them simultaneously at the mathematically optimal points in the extraction circles. The precision attack produced immediate results, the complex magical formati on destabilized from within rather than being overwhelmed by brute force. The extractors lost control as their ritual collapsed, saving the two remaining victims from certain death. Impossible, one fallen angel snarled, turning toward Issei. No devil could identify ritual junction points without extensive study. Not devil, Issei repeated calmly. Analyst. The fallen angels abandoned our failed extraction to engage directly, one targeting Rias with multiple light spears while the other charged Issei with a light sword manifested from raw energy. Combat analysis active. Opponent. Fallen angel, mid-tier. Attack pattern. Aggressive, undisciplined. Recommended counter. Prediction-based evasion. Unlike Rainer's calculated strikes, this attacker relied on overwhelming aggression. Issei sidestepped the initial charge, allowing his system to catalog movement patterns and predict follow-up attacks. The fallen angel's frustration mounted with each missed strike, his technique deteriorating as emotional control wavered. Stand still, abomination, he snarled, wings flaring with agitation. Emotional destabilization impairs combat efficiency, Issei observed clinically, further irritating his opponent. Boost activated, physical capabilities doubled, counterattack window identified. When the fallen angel overextended on a diagonal slash, Issei executed a precise counter, not with raw power, but with calculated efficiency. His gauntleted fist struck a neurological cluster where wing connected to shoulder, temporarily paralyzing the ND age and disrupting his opponent's balance. The fallen angel crashed into ritual equipment, momentarily stunned. Rather than pressing immediate advantage, Issei used the opportunity to analyze the extraction apparatus more thoroughly. His system cataloging its construction for future reference. Sacred gear extraction methodology analyzed. Principled understanding acquired. Defensive countermeasures formulating. Meanwhile, Rias demonstrated why high-class devils commanded respect across supernatural factions. Her combat with the supervising fallen angel displayed power and precision that Issei's system cataloged for future reference. The power of destruction wasn't merely destructive force but calculated annihilation, erasing matter at quantum levels rather than merely damaging it. When the fallen angel attempted escape through a hastily constructed teleportation circle, Rias methodically dissected its structure with mathematical precision, causing cascading failure that left her opponent stranded. Surrender and receive judgment, she commanded, crimson energy swirling around her form, or resist and face obliteration. The supervisor glanced toward his fallen comrade, calculating survival odds with visible desperation. This operation was sanctioned by Kokubile himself. Interference risks war between factions. Extraction of sacred gears from living humans violates all standing treaties. Rias countered coldly. Documentation of these activities will be presented to faction leadership, including Governor Azazel. The mention of Azazel visibly unnerved both fallen angels. The supervisor's expression shifted from defiance to calculation before settling on resignation. Kokubile operates with authorization beyond Azazel's knowledge, he admitted reluctantly. We were promised protection from consequences. This political revelation aligned with patterns Issei had identified from Rainer's interrogation, factional division within Grigori leadership. With Kokubile pursuing aggressive action against treaty provisions. Before further questioning could occur, the battle dynamics shifted dramatically. The fallen angel Issei had temporarily disabled recovered enough to create a massive light spear, not aimed at combatants, but at the ceiling above the remaining hostages. If we can't have them, no one will, he snarled, launching the attack with suicidal commitment. Issei's system calculated catastrophic structural collapse would kill the unconscious humans before they could be evacuated. With Rias engaged with the supervisor across the chamber, intervention fell to him alone. Critical threat detected. Standard countermeasures insufficient. Evolutionary pressure threshold reached. Initiating emergency adaptation. Time seemed to slow as Issei's consciousness expanded beyond normal parameters. The system presented multiple evolutionary pathways, each offering different solutions to the immediate crisis. Rather than selecting maximum power output, Issei chose comprehensive understanding, specifically, integration of the defensive magical principles he'd observed throughout the day. Selection acknowledged. Integrating. Devil defensive constructs. Integrating. C3 Water Cohesion Principles. Integrating. Fallen Angel Light Structural Integrity. Synthesizing. Hybrid Defensive Framework. Energy surged through his body as multiple supernatural principles merged into something entirely new. Extending both hands. Scaled gauntlet on left, bare skin on right, Issei projected a calm, complex defensive construct unlike anything previously documented in supernatural archives. An emerald green barrier materialized above the hostages, its surface covered in fractal patterns that continue. Owsley reconfigured to optimize structural integrity. When the light spear struck, the barrier didn't merely block the attack, it systematically deconstructed it, converting destructive energy into reinforcement for itself. The ceiling collapsed, tons of debris descending toward the unconscious humans. Upon contacting Issei's barrier, however, each piece was caught in fractalized suspension, not destroyed or deflected, but integrated into a stable construct that prevented further collapse while supporting the remaining structure. Fractal Defense System operational. Efficiency rating. Unprecedented. New evolutionary pathway established. Second evolution complete. The chamber fell momentarily silent as all combatants processed what they had witnessed. Even Rias stared in astonishment at the complex defensive construction that had not only prevented catastrophic collapse but established stable architectural support. "What are you?" the supervisor whispered, genuine fear replacing tactical calculation. Issei felt his consciousness expanding further as new understanding integrated throughout his system. The emergency adaptation had unlocked deeper mathematical principles connecting seemingly disparate supernatural energies, revealing fundamental patterns underlying all magical constructs. "I am becoming," he replied simply, the statement more philosophical observation than dramatic declaration. Taking advantage of the momentary distraction, Rias efficiently captured both fallen angels in containment fields similar to those used on Raynor. "We'll transfer them to secure facilities for formal questioning," she determined. "Their testimony regarding Kokobil's unauthorized operations will prove valuable to faction leadership." Issei nodded agreement while maintaining his fractal barrier until Kaneko arrived to physically stabilize the damaged structure. Only after confirming the unconscious humans were safely removed did he release the construct, allowing his system to fully integrate the evolutionary developments. Fractal analysis framework established. Mathematical understanding of supernatural energy, enhanced. Evolutionary path, way. Optimized integration rather than raw power. Efficiency potential. Approaching theoretical limits. Exhaustion followed the evolutionary surge, not physical fatigue but systemic recalibration as new capabilities integrated. Issei leaned against a wall, monitoring internal adjustments while Rias coordinated with Sona regarding prisoner transfer and evidence documentation. "That was unlike anything I've ever witnessed," Kiba commented, approaching after securing the perimeter. "Not raw power, but something fundamentally different." Issei nodded, struggling to articulate concepts. Beyond conventional supernatural frameworks, the system identified mathematical commonalities between devil constructs, fallen angel light, and structural physics. The barrier wasn't any single supernatural ability but a unified expression of underlying principles. "Fractal integration," Sona stated, joining their conversation. "Your defensive construct operated on recursive self-similarity principles across multiple dimensional planes." Her precise assessment confirmed Issei's suspicion that House C3's academic reputation was well-deserved. "Exactly. Efficiency through mathematical optimization rather than power maximization. The theoretical implications are extraordinary," Sona continued, genuine academic excitement briefly overtaking political calculation. "If supernatural RGIES share fundamental mathematical frameworks despite diverse cultural expressions, then unified theory becomes possible," Issei completed her thought. "Comprehensive understanding transcending factional limitations." Their academic discussion paused as Rias approached, having completed prisoner processing. "The survivors need medical attention. Akano is stabilizing them, but proper treatment requires specialized facilities. My family maintains a hospital wing for supernatural cases," Sona offered pragmatically. "We can transfer them there while maintaining secrecy." As they coordinated logistics, Issei's system continued background integration of new evolutionary developments. The emergency adaptation had accelerated his understanding beyond incremental learning, establishing new baselines for future development. Integration complete. Evolution stabilized. Energy reserves. 47% recommend rest cycle. New capabilities available for conscious exploration. The operation concluded with methodical efficiency, prisoners secured, survivors transported to medical facilities, and evidence documented for faction leadership. Throughout the process, Issei note. Subtle shifts in how the devils interacted with him, increased respect certainly, but also cautious observation. His evolutionary demonstration had altered their assessment from valuable ally to unprecedented development requiring careful monitoring. This political recalibration wasn't unexpected. Pattern recognition applied to interpersonal dynamics as much as supernatural energies. Beings accustomed to power hierarchies naturally reassessed positions when confronted with developments outside established parameters. As they prepared to depart the church grounds, Sona approached Issei with characteristic directness. Tonight's demonstration raises significant questions about your evolutionary trajectory. The devils would be remiss not to consider implications carefully. Understandable, Issei acknowledged. Unprecedented developments warrant thorough assessment. I'll be reporting observations to my sister, she continued, referring to Seraphal Leviathan, one of 4 Satans governing the underworld. Your fractal integration techniques may interest devil research divisions. The political implication was clear. Higher echelons of devil society would now monitor his development directly rather than through territorial administrators alone. This attention brought both opportunity and complication. Knowledge exchange benefits all parties when properly structured, Issei reiterated his diplomatic position. I remain open to collaborative research while maintaining evolutionary independence. Sona nodded, accepting the careful boundary setting. A reasonable position. We'll establish formal parameters for information sharing without restrictive oversight. Their conversation was interrupted by Rias, who approached with uncharacteristic hesitation. Issei, a moment before we depart. When Sona tactfully withdrew, Rias studied him with complex emotions evident in her expression. What you demonstrated tonight transcends conventional supernatural development. The fractal integration principles could revolutionize how we understand magical theory. The system continues revealing deeper patterns connecting diverse energies, Issei explained. Tonight's evolution suggests fundamental mathematical principles underlying all supernatural expressions, which makes your continued development both fascinating and potentially concerning to established powers, Rias observed candidly. Beings who transcend conventional limitations often face resistance from traditional hierarchies. This assessment aligned with historical patterns Issei had already identified. Revolutionary understanding frequently encounters institutional resistance regardless of field. Rias nodded, appreciation for his analytical perspective evident. Precisely why our alliance remains valuable to both parties. House Grimory's influence can provide political buffer while your evolution continues, provided communication remains open and trust maintained. The proposal demo. NSTRATED political acumen alongside genuine interest, offering protection while establishing information sharing expectations. Issei recognized both aspects as reasonable given tonight's demonstration. Agreed, he confirmed. Transparency benefits alliance stability, though some developmental aspects may require discretion for security reasons. Naturally, Rias acknowledged, all beings maintain certain boundaries. I merely suggest regular updates regarding capabilities with strategic implications. Their negotiation concluded with mutual understanding that preserved alliance benefits while respecting independence. As they rejoined the others for departure, Issei noted how this political exchange reflected growing respect between equals rather than recruitment of a subordinate. The Orni back to Kuo Academy provided opportunity for his system to complete integration while physically resting. Tonight's evolution had established new baseline capabilities that would require careful exploration in controlled environments. The fractal defense represented more than mere technique, it demonstrated fundamental understanding of mathematical principles connecting all supernatural energies. Evolutionary trajectory assessment. Integration pathway confirmed as optimal. Understanding prioritized over raw power. Efficiency through mathematical optimization. NEX. Developmental focus. Expanded analytical frameworks. By the time they reached the old school building, Issei's system had stabilized new evolutionary developments and outlined potential exploration paths. While Devils discussed political implications and prisoner processing, his mind explored mathematical beauty underlying all supernatural expressions, patterns connecting seemingly disparate energies through elegant numerical relationships. Tomorrow would bring formal meetings with Devil researchers, continued magical theory exploration with Rossweiss, and likely increased attention from multiple supernatural factions. Political complexities would multiply as word of his evolutionary capabilities spread beyond Kuo. Yet amid these external concerns, Issei's focus remained internal, understanding the infinite patterns revealed through analytical evolution. Each new insight expanded not just capability but comprehension, suggesting developmental pathways transcending conventional supernatural categorization. Whatever he was becoming existed beyond traditional classification, neither human nor devil nor dragon alone, but something integrating fundamental principles from all will. Evolving toward unprecedented understanding. As night deepened and others dispersed to respective territories, Issei remained briefly in the old building's courtyard, gazing upward at stars whose light traveled mathematically predictable paths across vast cosmic distances. In their elegant movement he perceived the same fractal patterns his evolution had manifested, recursive self-similarity across scale. Perfect mathematical efficiency operating without consciousness yet achieving sublime order. Beautiful, isn't it? Came an unexpected voice. Issei turned to find Ria standing nearby, her crimson hair catching moonlight as she too gazed skyward. The mathematical perfection, he agreed. Cosmic patterns reflecting the same principles operating at quantum levels. She smiled, genuine rather than political. Most see merely twinkling lights. You perceive underlying order. The system shows connections others miss, Issei explained. But appreciation for their elegance comes from human perspective, not computational analysis. This distinction seemed to interest her. You maintain separation between system functionality and personal identity. Evolution changes what I can perceive but not how I interpret meaning, he clarified. Mathematical patterns hold beauty beyond mere function. Rias considered this thoughtfully. An important distinction. Many beings with gray chi power lose appreciation for subtlety, seeing only utility rather than wonder. Her observation demonstrated unexpected philosophical depth beneath political acumen. Issei recognized genuine intellectual curiosity rather than mere assessment of his capabilities. The system provides enhanced perception, he elaborated. But understanding requires human context, appreciation for elegance beyond efficiency. Perhaps that's why your evolution takes such unique paths, Rias suggested. You seek understanding rather than domination, integration rather than conquest. This insightful assessment deserved acknowledgement. Pattern recognition reveals how seemingly opposing forces often represent complementary aspects of deeper principles. They stood in companionable silence for several minutes, each contemplating cosmic patterns from their distinct perspectives. Devil heiress with centuries of supernatural knowledge and evolving human with unprecedented analytical capabilities. Whatever you're becoming, Rias finally said, I believe it holds potential beyond mere power accumulation. Understanding transcends capability in meaningful evolution. The statement resonated with Issei's own developing philosophy. Precisely why knowledge exchange benefits all parties. Evolution without ethical framework leads to sophisticated destruction rather than meaningful creation. Rias smiled with genuine warmth. A perspective worth nurturing amid political complexities awaiting us both. As they parted ways, Rias to her devil responsibilities and Issei toward home, the evening's evolution. Developments settled into stable integration. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new knowledge, and likely new complications as supernatural factions adjusted to his unprecedented development. Tonight had established important principles guiding his evolution. Not merely power acquisition but fundamental understanding, not domination but integration, not isolation but carefully maintained alliances with beings whose perspectives enriched his own. The infinite evolution system continued analyzing, adapting, and optimizing. But the direction of that evolution remained guided by human appreciation for mathematical elegance underlying all existence, the fractal patterns connecting cosmic bodies, quantum particles, and every supernatural energy between. Chapter 2 End **# Chapter 3, Yokai Resonance. Dawn painted Kyoto in watercolor hues as the bullet train glided into the ancient capital. Through the window, Issei observed how modern architecture harmonized with traditional structure. Yours. Technological progress respectfully integrated with cultural heritage. The city embodied balanced evolution rather than disruptive replacement, a philosophy that resonated with his own developmental approach. 3 weeks had passed since the church incident. 3 weeks of accelerated learning, controlled experimentation, and strategic preparation. His system had stabilized the fractal Issei evolution while developing new analytical frameworks for supernatural energy classification. Daily training with Rias's peerage improved combat fundamentals, while theoretical discussions with Ross Visa expanded his understanding of runic principles. The Valkyrie had proven an exceptional instructor, rigorous in methodology yet generous with knowledge. Most significantly, the fallen angel Exter action operation had catalyzed political ripples throughout supernatural society. Documentation provided to faction leadership confirmed Kokobil's unauthorized activities, resulting in formal investigation by Grigori authorities. Meanwhile, Devil researchers had requested meetings regarding Issei's fractal integration techniques, necessitating careful diplomatic navigation to maintain independence while fostering beneficial alliances. Today's journey represented another political development, a diplomatic mission to Kyoto's yokai faction at the specific request of their leadership. Apparently, news of Issei's evolutionary capabilities had reached beyond Western supernatural structures into Eastern mystical societies. Nervous, Rias asked from the seat beside him, her aristocratic compos. You were unruffled despite the political significance of their visit. Curious rather than anxious, Issei replied truthfully. Yokai energy structures differ fundamentally from devil or dragon patterns. Understanding their approach to supernatural manipulation should provide valuable evolutionary insights. Akano smiled from across the aisle. Always the analyst. Most would feel intimidated meeting Yusaka-sama. She's quite possibly the most powerful yokai in Japan. Political significance doesn't negate analytical opportunity, Issei observed pragmatically. Meeting influential figures provide both strategic and evolutionary benefits. Hiba chuckled softly. Your perspective certainly simplifies diplomatic missions. Their small delegation consisted of 4 members, Rias representing devil aristocracy, Akano providing magical expertise, Hiba ensuring security, and Issei as the primary subject of yokai interest. Kaneko had notably declined participation despite her yokai heritage, her expression darkening at mere mention of Kyoto. The reaction suggested personal history requiring respectful distance rather than inquiry. As they disembarked onto the platform, Issei's enhanced sense immediately detected subtle differences in ambient energy patterns. Kyoto's supernatural resonance differed dramatically from Kuo's devil-influenced atmosphere, less structured but more deeply integrated with natural elements. Flowing like water rather than arranged like architecture. Analyzing environmental energy, classification, yokai influence patterns, distinguishing characteristics, organic flow, natural integration, adaptation potential, significant. The entire city resonates with yokai energy, Issei noted as they collected their luggage. Not concentrated in specific locations but diffused throughout natural elements, trees, stones, water sources. Rias nodded. Yokai society developed differently from Western supernatural structures. Rather than establishing separate domains, they integrated with human civilization while maintaining connection to natural elements. An evolutionary adaptation to Japan's limited geography and high population density, Issei observed. Coexistence through spiritual integration rather than dimensional separation. This fundamental difference from devil methodology, which created separate spaces rather than integrate with human environments, suggested alternative approaches to supernatural existence. His system immediately began analyzing potential applications of such methodology. A young woman awaited them beyond the ticket gates, petite with golden eyes and distinctive white-tipped black hair that suggested non-human heritage despite her modern attire. Welcome to Kyoto, she greeted with a formal bow. I am Kuno, daughter of Yusaka-sama and your guide during your stay. Analyzing entity, Kuno, classification, Kitsune yokai, developing. Age assessment, approximately 12-13 human equivalent. Power level, significant but unrefined. Political significance, substantial as heir apparent. Thank you for your hospitality, Rias responded with equivalent formality. House Gr. Emery appreciates Yusaka-sama's invitation. Kuno's attention shifted immediately to Issei, her golden eyes widening with unconcealed curiosity. "You're the one with the evolving dragon system. Moth." Has spoken of nothing else since hearing reports. Her directness contrasted sharply with devil political etiquette, suggesting yokai valued straightforward communication over diplomatic layering. Issei adjusted his approach accordingly. "Yes, though my system integrates multiple supernatural frameworks rather than exclusively draconic elements." Kuno circled him with unabashed interest, If'n slightly, a kitsune trait his system cataloged for future reference. "Your energy signature is unlike anything I've encountered. Part dragon, part mechanical, part something else entirely." "An accurate assessment," Issei acknowledged. "My evolution follows integration pathways rather than singular development." She grinned, revealing slightly pointed canines. "Fascinating. Mother will be delighted. Please, follow me." Their transportation proved as symbolic as practical, a sleek modern vehicle whose interior contained traditional elements, including tatami flooring and sliding paper dividers. Again, Issei noted the balanced integration of progress with tradition rather than replacement. As they traveled through Kyoto's streets, Kuno provided historical context regarding yokai governance, how ancient spirits had established structured society while maintaining connections to their natural domains, how cultural shifts had necessitated adaptive governance rather than rigid hierarchy. "Unlike devil territories with clear boundaries," she explained proudly, yokai domains exist as overlapping spiritual frequencies rather than exclusive territories. Multiple yokai factions may inhabit the same physical location while operating at different resonance levels. Dimensional harmonics rather than spatial segregation, Issei translated, immediately recognizing mathematical elegance in this approach. Energy distribution through frequency variation instead of territorial delineation. Kuno's expression brightened at his comprehension. "Exactly. Most Western supernatural beings struggle with this concept, insisting on clear ownership boundaries rather than resonance sharing." The conversation continued as they left urban density for forested hillsides, eventually stopping before an ancient shrine complex partially concealed by massive cedar trees. Though appearing as a traditional Shinto sanctuary to human perception, Issei's enhanced senses detected sophisticated barriers operating on frequency principles rather than spatial boundaries. "Fushimi Inari Shrine serves as our primary administrative center," Kuno explained as they approached the Vermilion Torii gates. "Though tourists visit daily, they perceive only the physical structure, not the yokai governance operations." Passing through the gates triggered subtle frequency shifts in Issei's purse. PTION. Not transportation to separate dimension but attunement to different resonance level. The shrine's physical appearance remained unchanged, but supernatural elements previously invisible manifested with perfect clarity. Yokai of diverse types conducted business throughout the complex, Tanuki merchants discussing trade agreements, Kappa engineers maintaining water purification systems, Tengu guards patrolling aerial boundaries. Unlike the rigid hierarchy evident in Devil society, yokai interaction appeared more fluid while maintaining clear organizational structure. Analyzing social structure, classification, harmonic hierarchy, organizational principle, resonant authority rather than linear command, adaptation potential, significant for social interface optimization. Your governance operates on resonance principles rather than direct authority transmission, Issei observed as they ascended stone steps toward the main sanctuary. Leaders influence through harmonic attunement rather than command imposition. Kuno paused, clearly impressed. Most visitors require extensive explanation to grasp our social mechanics. You observed fundamental principles immediately. Pattern recognition applies across diverse systems, Issei explained. Yokai governance follows mathematical harmonics similar to musical resonance rather than architectural hierarchy. Air exchange attracted attention from nearby yokai officials, several abandoning previous activities to observe the foreign delegation more carefully. Issei noted their interest focused primarily on him rather than the devils, suggesting his evolutionary nature represented greater curiosity than established supernatural factions. Upon reaching the main sanctuary, traditional architecture gave way to surprisingly modern meeting facilities, another example of respectful integration rather than replacement. Sliding doors crafted from thousand-year-old wood opened to reveal a conference room kanta. eyeing both traditional floor cushions and contemporary presentation technologies. Awaiting them was Yusaka herself, a woman of extraordinary beauty whose golden eyes mirrored her daughter's but held centuries of wisdom behind ageless features. 9 golden furred tails arranged in perfect symmetry behind her traditional kimono displayed her status more effectively than any crown or scepter. Analyzing entity, Yusaka. Classification: 9-tailed kitsune yokai, mature. Power assessment: exceptional, comparable to ultimate class devil. Energy signature: primarily spiritual, natural with dimensional harmonics. Political significance: maximum within yokai hierarchy. Welcome to Kyoto, Yusaka greeted, her voice carrying subtle harmonics that resonated pleasantly through Issei's enhanced perception. We appreciate your willingness to travel far from your territories, Rias Grimori. Formal introductions followed diplomatic protocols, acknowledgement of respective positions, expression of mutual respect, and establishment of meeting parameters. Throughout this exchange, Issei noted how Yusaka maintained perfect balance between traditional formality and pragmatic efficiency, neither wasting time with excessive ceremony nor rushing important relationship foundations. When introductions reached him, Yusaka's attention intensified noticeably. Issei Hyodo, your reputation precedes you in fascinating ways. Reports from various supernatural observers describe capabilities that transcend conventional classifications. My evolution integrates diverse supernatural principles rather than following established pathways, Issei confirmed, matching her direct approach. Analysis reveals mathematical commonalities between seemingly disparate power systems. Fascinating perspective, Yusaka replied. Genuine intellectual curiosity evident beneath diplomatic courtesy. Such integration suggests fundamental understanding rather than mere technique accumulation. This assessment demonstrated perceptiveness exceeding most supernatural leaders he'd encountered. While devil aristocrats focused primarily on power applications, Yusaka immediately identified the philosophical distinction underlying his approach. Understanding precedes application in meaningful development, Issei agreed. Pattern recognition reveals connections between diverse supernatural expressions. Yusaka's tails shifted in what his system identified as indication of heightened interest. Precisely why your visit holds significant value to yokai society. Our approach to supernatural energy differs fundamentally from Western traditions, emphasizing harmonics and resonance rather than structured manipulation. The meeting transitioned from formal introduction to substantive discussion, Yusaka explaining yokai energy principles while Rias outlined recent developments involving Kokobeel's unauthorized operations. Political implications remained foremost in devil priorities, While yokai leadership demonstrated greater interest in theoretical principles than factional positioning. As discussions progressed, Issei's system continuously analyzed yokai energy dynamics, FYING fundamental differences from previously encountered supernatural frameworks. Comparative analysis. Yokai energy versus devil magic. Yokai principle. Resonant harmony with natural elements. Devil principle. Structured command of supernatural forces. Yokai methodology. Attunement and amplification. Devil methodology. Imagination manifested through will. Integration potential. Significant through harmonic mathematics. Your analytical capacity is remarkable, Yusaka observed, noting his intense concentration. You perceive principles that took many yokai centuries to fully comprehend. The system identifies mathematical patterns automatically, Issei explained. Yokai energy operates through harmonic resonance rather than directed manipulation, essentially collaborating with natural forces rather than commanding them. Yusaka nodded, clearly impressed. A perfect summation of fundamental differences between our methodologies and Western approaches. ILS reshape reality through will imposition, while yokai attune to existing harmonies and amplify specific frequencies. Different mathematical expressions of similar underlying principles, Issei concluded. Power manifestation through alternative conceptual frameworks rather than fundamentally different energies. This observation sparked extensive discussion regarding theoretical unification of diverse supernatural systems, a topic clearly fascinating to Yusaka while holding strategic implications for Rias. For several hours, they explored comparative analysis of yokai techniques, devil methodologies, and draconic principles, identifying convergence points and divergence patterns. Throughout this exchange, Issei's system continued cataloging yokai energy structures, developing theoretical frameworks for potential integration. Unlike devil magic, which required complete reimagining of his approach, yokai techniques seemed potentially compatible with his existing analytical methodology, different expressions of similar mathematical principles rather than contradictory systems. As afternoon faded toward evening, formal discussions concluded with established parameters for information exchange and cross-factional cooperation. The atmosphere shifted from diplomatic engagement to cultural hospitality as Yusaka invited them to experience traditional yokai entertainment during dinner. Understanding extends beyond theoretical analysis into cultural expression, she explained as they moved toward elaborate gardens behind the main sanctuary. Yokai arts demonstrate supernatural principles through aesthetic application rather than academic explanation. The evening's entertainment proved as educational as enjoyable, kitsune illusionists creating narrative displays through manipulating natural elements rather than generating artificial constructs, tanuki musicians producing harmonics that resonated with specific emotional frequencies, tengu performers demonstrating wind manipulation through dance rather than combat application. Throughout these displays, Issei's system continued analyzing principles, identifying how yokai arts applied the same resonance mathematics evident in their governance and power structures. Each performance demonstrated integration with natural elements rather than imposition upon them, collaboration rather than command. During an elaborate multicourse meal featuring traditional yokai cuisine, conversation shifted toward more personalized exchange. Yusaka directed several questions specifically to Issei regarding his evolutionary experience, while Kuno demonstrated increasingly undisguised fascination with his analytical capabilities. Most beings with significant power develop either domination tendencies or isolationist preferences. Yusaka observed while serving ceremonial sake. Your collaborative approach despite unprecedented capabilities suggests philosophical foundation rather than circumstantial development. This insightful assessment deserved honest response. Evolution without ethical framework leads toward sophisticated destruction rather than meaningful creation. Pattern recognition reveals how isolated development produces diminishing returns compared to integrated understanding. Yusaka nodded appreciatively. Wisdom rarely accompanies power acquisition, particularly in young beings. Your perspective suggests deliberate choice rather than incidental outcome. The system provides enhanced perception, Issei clarified. How I interpret and apply that perception remains human choice rather than computational directive. This distinction clearly resonated with Yusaka, whose expression reflected deepening interest beyond political assessment. Maintaining free will despite systematic enhancement represents perhaps your most significant evolution, the capacity for choice amid expanding capability. Their philosophical exchange continued through several courses, touching on relationships between power and responsibility, knowledge and application, individual development and collective benefit. Throughout this conversation, Issei noted subtle shifts in Yusaka's demeanor, from diplomatic leader to engaged intellectual, demonstrating depth beyond political position. As formal dinner concluded, Yusaka offered accommodations within the shrine complex rather than hotel arrangement. T.S. a significant honor indicating exceptional regard. Rias accepted graciously, recognizing the political importance of such hospitality. Tomorrow's discussions will focus on practical applications of theoretical principles. Yusaka explained as attendants prepared to escort them to guest quarters, including demonstration of yokai techniques you may find adaptable to your evolutionary framework. Before departing, she addressed Issei directly with unexpected personal interest. Your approach to understanding rather than merely acquiring supernatural capabilities represents refreshing perspective in an age increasingly focused on power accumulation. I look forward to continued exchange beyond formal diplomatic requirements. The statement contained subtle layers beyond professional RTESY, genuine intellectual connection rather than merely political assessment. Issei recognized this shift while maintaining appropriate diplomatic boundaries in his response. Knowledge exchange benefits all parties when approached with mutual respect. I appreciate your willingness to share yokai perspectives on supernatural integration. As they were escorted toward traditional guest pavilions, situated amid carefully maintained gardens, Rias offered quiet assessment of their diplomatic progress. Yasaka-sama's personal interest extends beyond factional politics, she observed with characteristic perceptiveness. Yokai leadership rarely demonstrates such immediate engagement with foreign visitors. Cultural exchange provides mutual benefit, Issei replied diplomatically. Akino's no. Wing's smile suggested she perceived additional dimensions to the interaction. Cultural exchange indeed, though perhaps Yasaka-sama's interest extends beyond mere information sharing. Before further discussion could develop, their yokai guide indicated they had reached their accommodations, traditional structures elevated above ornamental ponds, connected by wooden walkways illuminated by paper lanterns. The setting embodied classical Japanese aesthetic while incorporating subtle yokai elements visible only to supernatural perception, protective harmonics woven into architectural elements rather than imposed as separate barriers. We'll reconvene tomorrow morning for practical demonstrations, Kuno informed them cheerfully. Rest well, honored guests. As the devils settled into their assigned quarters, Issei took opportunity to explore the garden surrounding their pavilions. The nighttime setting revealed yokai elements invisible during daylight, luminescent spirits maintaining plant health. Miniature water yokai ensuring perfect pond circulation, countless minor nature spirits performing ecological functions beneath human perception threshold. Sitting beside a small waterfall, Issei initiated deep meditation to process the day's accumulated data. His system had cataloged extensive information regarding yokai energy principles, developing theoretical frameworks for potentia. Integration with his evolutionary pathways. Yokai principle analysis complete. Fundamental concept. Life force resonance. Compatibility assessment. Significant potential. Integrat. Ion approach. Harmonic mathematics rather than direct replication. Evolutionary opportunity. Substantial. Unlike devil magic which operated through imagination manifesting reality, yokai tekken. IQs focused on harmonizing with existing natural energies, essentially amplifying inherent patterns rather than imposing external will. This approach aligned more naturally with his analytical methodology, suggesting promising integration potential. As his meditation deepened, Issei became aware of subtle energy shift in surrounding atmosphere, a new presence approaching with deliberately masked signature yet detectable through disturbance patterns in ambient yokai energies. Anomalous presence detected. Classification. Yokai Nekomata with significant power. Approach vector. Deliberate concealment. Threat assessment. Indeterminate. Recommended action. Maintain awareness while appearing unalert. Without changing his meditative posture, Issei shifted internal RTNESS to maximum while maintaining external appearance of continued relaxation. His system tracked the approaching entity through minute disruptions in environmental harmonics rather than direct observation. Impressive, came a silky feminine voice from nearby shadows. Most wouldn't detect my approach until I chose to reveal myself. Your sensory capabilities exceed expectations, NYA. Opening his eyes, Issei observed a striking woman perched gracefully on a boulder opposite his position. Long black hair framed golden eyes with vertical pupils, while two black furred tails swayed behind her with feline grace. Her attire, a black kimono worn provocatively loose, suggested deliberate sensual presentation rather than combat readiness, though her substantial power signature indicated formida. BLE capability beneath casual appearance. Analyzing entity. KUROKA. Classification. SS Class Nekomata Yokai. Specialization. Senjutsu Master, YOUJUTSU Expert. Criminal status. Wanted by devil authorities. Relation. Biological sister to Kaneko Toujou. Threat assessment. Substantial if hostile. Potential knowledge value. Exceptional. Kuroka. He identified calmly. Recalling information from devil briefings. SS Class Stray wanted for killing your master and fleeing devil society with your sister. Her expression shifted from playful to calculating. My, properly informed about little old me. Though devil records rarely include motivational context, NYA. Context typically provides essential understanding beyond factual recording, Issei acknowledged diplomatically. Historical accounts often reflect recorder perspective rather than objective reality. This nuanced response seemed to surprise her, golden eyes narrowing slightly before her lips. Curved into genuine rather than performative smile. Unexpectedly philosophical for someone aligned with devils. Most immediately attempt capture or attack upon recognizing me. I'm allied with devils rather than belonging to them. Issei clarified. And pattern recognition suggests confrontational approach would prove suboptimal given your evident skill level and deliberate non-aggressive approach. Kuroka laughed, a melodious sound containing authentic amusement rather than tactical display. Suboptimal indeed. Refreshingly practical assessment. She shifted position, moving closer with feline grace while maintaining non-threatening demeanor. You've caused quite the stir in supernatural circles, Dragon Boy. An evolutionary system that analyzes and integrates diverse power frameworks, rather than merely accumulating techniques. Quite the unprecedented development. Information travels efficiently through supernatural networks, Issei observed, noting how her movement patterns suggested professional assessment beneath casual presentation. Especially information worth tracking, Kuroka confirmed, settling into comfortable position nearby. Your energy signature contains something fascinating beyond mere power metrics. A resonance quality I haven't encountered previously. Her statement contained technical insight beyond casual observation, suggesting sophisticated understanding of supernatural energies rather than merely combat capability. Issei adjusted his assessment accordingly. You're a senjutsu master, he noted, specializing in life force manipulation rather than conventional yokai techniques. Quote, Kuroka's eyes widened fractionally. Accurate assessment from brief observation. Your analytical capabilities match reports. Pattern recognition identify. Specialization through energy flow characteristics, Issei explained. Your life force manipulation demonstrates mathematical precision beyond typical yokai resonance. This observation visibly intrigued her. Casual demeanor shifting toward genuine intellectual interest. Most perceive only power output rather than methodological foundation. You actually see the underlying principles. Understanding precedes application in meaningful development, Issei repeated his core philosophy. Technique without comprehension yields limited results regardless of power level. Kuroka studied him with new intensity. Playful facade temporarily abandoned. That perspective explains why your evolutionary pattern differs fundamentally from conventional power acquisition. You're developing comprehensive understanding rather than accumulating isolated techniques. Her insight demonstrated intellectual depth beyond combat proficiency, theoretical comprehension alongside practical capability. Issei recognized valuable knowledge potential despite her criminal classification in devil records. May I ask why you've sought this meeting? He inquired directly, matching her shift toward substantive exchange. Your deliberate approach suggests specific purpose rather than casual curiosity. Kuroka's tail swayed contemplatively before she answered with unexpected honesty. Your energy signature contains resonance patterns of particular interest to senjutsu practitioners. Life force manipulation typically requires extensive training to perceive fundamental patterns, yet you appear to analyze them instinctively. The system identifies mathematical relationships across diverse supernatural expressions, Issei confirmed, including life force dynamics, though my understanding remains theoretical rather than practical in that domain. This explanation visibly fascinated her. Theoretical understanding without practical application represents unprecedented approach to senjutsu principles. Traditionally, practitioners develop intuitive comprehension through decades of meditation before achieving mathematical perception. The conversation shifted toward technical exchange. Kuroka explaining fundamental principles of life force manipulation while Issei described his analytical approach to supernatural energy classification. Throughout this discussion, both maintained awareness of the respective positions. Criminal yokai and devil ally engaged in unauthorized knowledge exchange, while prioritizing intellectual connection over political boundaries. Senjutsu operates through direct perception of life's fundamental rhythms, Kuroka explained, demonstrating by creating small energy construct between her palms. Not controlling but harmonizing with existing patterns while introducing subtle variations to achieve specific outcomes. Unlike devil constructs created through imagination or yokai manifestations produced through nature attunement, her energy manipulation demonstrated precise mathematical adjustments to existing life force currents, essentially reprogramming natural flows rather than directing or amplifying them. Analyzing senjutsu methodology, classification, life force reprogramming, fundamental principle. Mathematical variation of existing patterns. Compatibility assessment. Highly resonant with analytical framework. Adaptation potential. Exceptional. The mathematical precision exceeds conventional yokai techniques, Issei observed, fascinated by her demonstration. You're essentially rewriting natural algorithms rather than working within established parameters. Quote, Kuroka appeared genuinely impressed by his comprehension. Precisely. Most practitioners require decades to perceive these mathematical relationships, yet you identified fundamental principles immediately. Pattern recognition applies across diverse systems, Issei explained. Senjutsu mathematics share fractal characteristics with other supernatural expressions despite distinct application methodology. Their exchange continued for nearly an hour. Technical discussion rather than casual conversation, focused on fundamental principles rather than specific techniques. Throughout this interaction, Issei noted how Kuroka gradually abandoned performative aspects of her presentation, flirtatious mannerisms and deliberately provocative positioning giving way to professional demonstration and precise explanation as their intellectual connection deepened. You're unlike any being I've encountered, she eventually stated, golden eyes studying him with undisguised fascination. Not merely your power signature but your perspective, seeing mathematical elegance rather than merely force application. Understanding reveals beauty beyond utility, Issei replied honestly. Supernatural systems contain mathematical artistry independent of combat application. This philosophical observation seemed to affect her deeply, momentary vulnerability visible beneath confident exterior. Most see only what power can accomplish rather than appreciating its inherent elegance. Even among senjutsu masters, application typically overshadows appreciation. E's statement suggested personal history beyond tactical consideration, genuine connection with his perspective rather than merely professional assessment. Issei recognized significance in this unguarded moment from someone Devil Records described as calculatingly dangerous. Before their exchange could develop further, distant disturbance interrupted their conversation, magical detonation powerful out a register through shrine protective harmonics. Kuroka immediately tensed, attention shifting toward disturbance source. Unexpected complications, she murmured, rising fluidly. It seems our pleasant exchange must conclude prematurely. Issei stood as well, enhanced senses detecting multiple power signatures converging toward disruption epicenter. The disturbance location suggests deliberate targeting of shrine administrative areas. Kuroka nodded, expression shifting from intellectual engagement to tactical assessment. Indeed, timing suggests opportunistic strike utilizing foray delegation as distraction for reduced security protocols. This analysis aligned with Issei's own assessment. Before either could elaborate further, alarm signals resonated through yokai frequency. Harmonic patterns rather than audible sounds, communicating emergency protocols across the shrine complex. You should return to your delegation, Kuroka advised, already moving toward higher vantage point. Political complications would multiply if you're discovered conversing with known criminal during security incident. The practical assessment demonstrated consideration beyond self-interest. Saint, recognizing potential diplomatic repercussions for him despite her own disregard for conventional boundaries. Issei acknowledged this courtesy with respectful nod before they separated, she vanishing into shadows with feline grace while he returned toward guest pavilions where devils had already mobilized in response to disturbance. There you are, Rias exclaimed as he rejoined them on Central Walkway. We were concerned when we couldn't locate you immediately. I was meditating in the gardens, Issei explained truthfully if incompletely. The disturbance appears concentrated near main administrative buildings. Akino had already prepared combat barriers while Kiba maintained defensive position. Yasaka-sama has requested our assistance, Rias informed him. Apparently separatist Kai faction has launched coordinated strike against leadership, timing their attack to coincide with reduced security during diplomatic visits. This information aligned with Kuroka's assessment, suggesting she possessed accurate intelligence regarding internal yokai politics despite outcast status. Issei activated his boosted gear while his system initiated combat protocols. Combat sequence initiated. Environmental analysis. Yokai Shrine Complex. Energy signatures detected. Multiple hostile yokai. Classification. Diverse species with senjutsu enhancement. Tactical ass. S meant. Coordinated attack against governance. We should proceed toward administrative center, Issei suggested. Yasaka-sama likely requires support against primary assault force. Rias nodded agreement, leading their group along illuminated pathways toward disturbance epicenter. As they approached central shrine buildings, evidence of conflict became visible: damaged structures, disabled barriers, and several injured yokai defenders receiving emergency treatment. Kuno intercepted them before they reached main sanctuary, her childlike appearance contradicted by focused determination and active fox fire circling her small form. Thank goodness you've come. Mother is confronting the separatist leaders in the main courtyard, but they've employed some strange technique that's disrupting our defensive harmonics. What exactly are we facing? Rias inquired as they continued forward. Political dissidents or genuine insurrection? Radical traditionalists opposing Mother's progressive governance. Kuno explained rapidly. They believe integration with human society weakens yokai cultural identity and advocate complete separation through dimensional isolation. Classic conservative progressive political division. Issei analyzed. Resistance to evolutionary adaptation versus embracing necessary change. This assessment earned approving nod from Kuno despite urgent circumstances. Exactly. They've opposed Mother's policies for decades but never attempted direct confrontation before. Something has changed. They're employing techniques outside traditional yokai methodologies. As they reached central courtyard, this observation proved immediately evident. Yasaka stood at courtyard center, multiple tails deployed in defensive formation against approximately 20 diverse yokai attackers. While her power remained clearly superior to any individual opponent, the attackers employed unusual energy constructs that disrupted normal yokai harmonics, essentially creating G-localized interference patterns that weakened conventional techniques. Analyzing hostile technique. Classification. Harmonic disruption field. Methodology. Counter-frequency projection. Source analysis. Non-yokai principles detected. Compatibility with known systems. Negative. Anomalous energy signature detected. Their disruption technique employs principles outside established supernatural frameworks. Issei observed as they assessed the situation. Neither yokai, devil, angel, nor dragon methodology. Can you counter it? Rias asked practically. Already p. Repairing destruction energy for combat engagement. Issei analyzed the disruptive patterns, his system rapidly developing theoretical countermeasures based on mathematical principles rather than specific techniques. Not directly, but fractal defense might stabilize local harmonics enough to neutralize interference effects. Without waiting further, the devils engaged, Rias targeting apparent lead. Our ship with precision destruction attacks, Akino deploying lightning barriers to contain combatants, and Kiba utilizing speed advantage to disrupt attack formations. Meanwhile, Issei approached Yasaka directly, recognizing her central importance to both combat resolution and political stability. Issei Hyodo, she acknowledged while maintaining defensive barrier. Your assistance is appreciated, though unexpected during diplomatic visit. Alliance includes practical support beyond theoretical exchange, he replied pragmatically. My system has analyzed their disruption technique. With your permission, I can establish stabilization field to neutralize interference patterns. Yasaka nodded immediate authorization, her practical leadership prioritizing effective response over procedural considerations. Proceed. My primary techniques suffer significant reduction under their disruption field. Issei activated his evolved fractal defense system, modified specifically for current circumstances. Rather than creating physical barrier, he projected mathematical stabilization field designed to reinforce natural harmonics against artificial disruption, essentially strengthening existing patterns rather than imposing new structure. Fractal stabilization deployed, calibrating to yokai harmonic frequencies. Counter-disruption algorithms active. Localized reality enforcement initiated. Emerald energy extended outward in complex geometric patterns, intersecting with Yasaka's golden barriers to create integrated defense system. Where his fractals touched yokai energy, both strengthened through mathematical resonance rather than mere addition, multiplication rather than combination. Extraordinary, Yasaka murmured, immediately recognizing implications beyond immediate tactical advantage. You're not merely adding your power to mine but establishing fundamental harmony between distinct supernatural systems. Integration through mathematical commonality rather than forced combination. Issei confirmed while maintaining concentration on expanding stabilization field. Our distinct methods share underlying patterns despite different expressions. As the integrated barrier expanded, disruption techniques employed by separatist attackers lost effectiveness, their counter-frequencies finding no purchase against mathematically reinforced harmonics. The tactical advantage shifted immediately, allowing Yusaka to counterattack with traditional yokai techniques suddenly restored to full effectiveness. The battle resolved with surprising quickness once stabilization field neutralized their primary advantage. Without disruption technology, separatist yokai found themselves dramatically outmatched by Yusaka's natural power supplemented by devil assistance. Within minutes, primary combatants were subdued through combination of yokai binding techniques and devil containment methods. As shrine guards secured captured separatists, Yusaka approached Issei with undisguised fascination. Your stabilization technique transcends mere power application. You identified fundamental principles connecting our distinct supernatural methodologies and estably shed functional integration where most would attempt mere cooperation. Her assessment demonstrated sophisticated understanding beyond tactical appreciation, recognizing theoretical significance alongside practical application. Issei acknowledged this insight while his system continued analyzing collected combat data. Mathematical patterns underlie all supernatural expressions despite cultural variations, he explained. Identifying these commonalities allows integration through harmony rather than dominance. Yusaka studied him with deepening interest beyond political assessment. Such perspective represents precisely what separatists fear yet paradoxically need: evolution that preserves essential nature while adapting to changing circumstances. Before their conversation could develop further, Kuno approached with urgent information. Mother, preliminary investigation suggests external influence behind separatist technology. Their disruption devices contain components inconsistent with yokai craftsmanship. This intelligence shifted focus from philosophical exchange to practical investigation. Upon examining captured equipment, Issei's system identified anomalous characteristics suggesting outside involvement. Analyzing disruption device, component origin, mixed supernatural technologies, primary energy signature, unclassified, secondary signatures, fallen angel, human sacred gear, probable manufacturing source, Chaos Brigade. The technology combines elements from multiple supernatural factions, Issei reported, sharing analysis results. Quote, construction methodology suggests Chaos Brigade involvement, specifically their hero faction based on human sacred gear energy residue. This assessment aligned with intelligence Rias had received regarding emerging threat organizations. The Chaos Brigade has been recruiting across traditional faction boundaries, she confirmed. Providing advanced technology to dissident groups furthers their agenda of supernatural destabilization. External manipulation of internal political divisions, Yusaka concluded grimly. Classic strategy for weakening established governance without direct confrontation. The security incident transitioned to diplomatic investigation as representatives from multiple yokai departments gathered to assess implications. Throughout this process, Issei noted how Yas, aka maintained perfect balance between leader authority and collaborative governance, directing overall response while respecting specialized expertise within her administration. Hours later, when IMM-88 security concerns had been addressed and formal investigation established, Yusaka requested private meeting with the Devil delegation. They gathered in smaller conference room within administrative complex, away from ongoing activities surrounding captured separatists. Today's events demonstrate concerning development beyond isolated incident, Yusaka began once privacy had been established. External forces actively exploiting internal divisions represents strategic threat to all supernatural governance structures. Rias nodded agreement. Similar patterns have emerged across multiple territories. The Chaos Brigade appears specifically focused on exploiting existing tensions rather than creating new conflicts. Efficient destabilization strategy, Issei observed analytically. Amplifying natural fault lines requires less resource investment than establishing artificial divisions. Yusaka's attention shifted specifically toward him. Your analytical capabilities proved exceptionally valuable during today's confrontation. The ability to identify mathematical commonalities between diverse supernatural systems represents potential counterbalance against divisive strategies. The statement contained political implications beyond complementary assessment, suggesting his evolutionary approach held strategic value in emerging supernatural conflicts. Issei recognized this dimension while maintaining focus on practical applications. Integration through understanding rather than dominance offers sustainable cooperation model, he acknowledged. Identifying fundamental patterns connecting diverse expressions provides foundation for meaningful alliance. Precisely, Yusaka confirmed with approving nod. Which brings me to formal proposal beyond initial diplomatic exchange. Yokai society would benefit greatly from continued access to your analytical perspective, while your evolution would likely accelerate through exposure to our methodologies. The proposal's precise nature remained initially ambiguous, allowing Rias to intervene with diplomatic precision. House Grimoire certainly supports continued alliance between our respective factions, including Knoll Edge exchange regarding evolutionary analysis. Yusaka smiled with subtle appreciation for political maneuvering. Indeed, though my specific proposal extends beyond institutional frameworks to include personal exchange opportunities. Turning directly to Issei, she continued with characteristic directness. Your evolutionary system demonstrates particular resonance with yokai methodologies despite distinct origins. I propose establishing regular knowledge exchange sessions between yourself and appropriate yokai practitioners, including personal instruction regarding natural harmony techniques. The offer contains significant value beyond political courtesy. Access to yokai methodologies typically restricted to their own practitioners, including direct instruction from their foremost expert. Issei recognized both practical benefits and political implications. Such exchange would provide mutual benefits through expanded understanding, he acknowledged diplomatically. Theoretical INTEG ration of yokai harmonics with my analytical framework presents promising evolutionary pathway. Yusaka's expression indicated appreciation for his careful response, acknowledging value without or committing to specific arrangements that might complicate existing alliances. Excellent. We'll establish appropriate protocols for regular exchange beyond today's emergency circumstances. The meeting concluded with practical arrangements for continued cooperation, including communication channels and security parameters for future interactions. Throughout these discussions, Issei noted subtle shift in Yusaka's demeanor when addressing him directly, professional respect layered with personal interest beyond political assessment, suggesting multiple dimensions to her proposal. As they read to return to guest accommodations following extended security proceedings, Kuno approached Issei specifically rather than addressing the entire delegation. Mother was impressed by your mathematical approach to harmonics, she stated with characteristic directness. Few outside yokai society comprehend our methodologies at fundamental level rather than merely observing effects. Fundamental principles reveal deeper connections than surface manifestations, Issei replied. Yokai techniques demonstrate particularly elegant mathematical relationships despite appearing initially naturalistic rather than structured. Kuno nodded enthusiastically. Exactly. Mother said you'd understand the distinction. She specifically requested your presence tomorrow for private demonstration of CED harmonics before your scheduled departure. The invitation contained obvious significance beyond routine diplomatic courtesy. Issei acknowledged this while maintaining appropriate boundaries. I'd be honored to learn from Yusaka-sama's expertise. Her mastery of harmonic principles was evident during today's confrontation. Kuno grinned, appearing momentarily more like ordinary adolescent than yokai princess. She'll be pleased. Mother rarely encounters beings who appreciate mathematical elegance beneath practical applications. After Kuno departed, Akino approached with knowing smile. My, private instruction from Yusaka-sama herself. Quite the honor for someone who only yesterday entered yokai territory. Knowledge exchange benefits evolutionary development, Issei replied pragmatically. Akino's smile widened. Indeed, though I suspect Yusaka-sama's interest extends beyond mere educational value. Nine-tailed foxes are known for appreciating exceptional qualities in potential partners. Before Issei could respond to this observation, Rias joined their conversation with diplomatic redirection. Regardless of specific motivations, strengthened alliance with yokai leadership provides significant advantages during uncertain times. particularly with Chaos Brigade actively recruiting across faction boundaries. Her practical assessment returned focus to strategic NSI durations rather than personal implications, though subtle expression suggested she had not missed potential undercurrents in Yusaka's interactions with Issei. The remainder of evening passed with continued security discussions and formal documentation of separatist interrogations. Throughout these proceedings, Issei's system processed accumulated data regarding yokai methodologies, developing theoretical frameworks for potential integration with his evolutionary pathways. Yokai methodology analysis complete. Integration potential. Significant. Evolutionary pathway. Harmonic resonance. Adaptation approach. Mathematical synchronization rather than technique replication. Projected compatibility. 87.3% with current framework. Unlike Devil Magic, which required BS Tantial reconfiguration of his approach, yokai techniques demonstrated natural compatibility with his analytical methodology, different expressions of similar mathematical principles rather than fundamentally contradictory systems. This alignment suggested promising evolutionary pathway emphasizing harmony through understanding rather than domination through power. Late that night, as others read following extended security proceedings, Issei returned to the garden where he had previously encountered Kuroka. Though not explicitly expecting her reappearance, certain patterns suggested NTIAL follow-up given their interrupted exchange. His assessment proved accurate when her distinctive energy signature manifested among shadowed trees shortly after his arrival. Curious about today's excitement, she inquired, materializing with characteristic feline grace. Analyzing implications beyond immediate tactical resolution, Issei corrected gently. External manipulation of RNAL divisions suggests coordinated strategy rather than isolated incident. Kuroka settled nearby, her casual posture belied by focused attention. Perceptive assessment. The technology provided to those separatist fools originated outside traditional supernatural hierarchies. You're familiar with the source, Issei observed rather than asked. Her golden eyes studied him carefully before responding with measured honesty. I've encountered similar devices while navigating boundaries between established factions. The Chaos Brigade recruits disaffected elements from all supernatural societies, providing resources for destabilization activities. This confirmation of his analysis suggested Kuroka maintained extensive intelligence networks despite outlaw status, valuable knowledge source beyond official channels. Issei recognized potential benefit while acknowledging associated complications. Information exchange benefits mutual understanding, he acknowledged diplomatically. Though certain alliances create inevitable complications given existing political frameworks. Kuroka smiled appreciatively at his careful phrasing. Delicately stated, Dragon Boy. Yes, my current classification creates obvious complications for conventional alliance. Though perhaps unconventional arrangements might provide alternative frameworks. The suggestion contained multiple dimensions beyond immediate application, potential information sharing outside official channels, access to knowledge unavailable through established hierarchies, and personal connection independent of factional politics. Issei considered implications while maintaining diplomatic caution. Alternative frameworks require careful consideration regarding ethical and practical boundaries, he noted. Though conventional classifications often reflect political expedience rather than comprehensive assessment. This response acknowledged potential value while establishing careful parameters, neither rejecting possibility outright nor accepting undefined arrangement. Kuroka seemed to appreciate this balanced approach, her expression shifting from calculated assessment to genuine respect. Principled pragmatism rather than rigid moralism or expedient abandonment, she observed with surprising insight. Refreshing perspective among beings of significant capability. Their conversation developed beyond immediate tactical concerns toward broader philosophical exchange, discussing relationships between established structures and evolutionary necessity, institutional preservation versus adaptive requirement, tradition versus innovation in supernatural societies. Throughout this interaction, Issei noted how Kuroka's perspective demonstrated sophisticated understanding beyond her portrayal in official records. Strategic insight alongside practical capability. Most supernatural societies face similar challenges despite cultural variations, she explained thoughtfully. Maintaining essential identity while adapting to changing circumstances. Those who resist necessary evolution eventually collapse under accumulated pressure, while those who abandon foundational principles lose coherence through excessive transformation. Balanced adaptation through principled evolution rather than rigid preservation or unguided change, Issei summarized, recognizing mathematical elegance in this approach. Kuroka nodded, genuine rather than performative engagement evident in her focused expression. Precisely. Though implementing such balance requires exceptional leadership capable of distinguishing essential principles from circumstantial expressions, this philosophical exchange continued for some time, revealing dimensions to Kuroka's perspective rarely captured in conventional assessments. Behind her playful demeanor and calculated presentation existed sophisticated understanding of supernatural politics alongside profound appreciation for evolutionary principles, intellectual depth complementing formidable capability. Eventually, practical considerations necessitated conclusion as dawn approached. We should establish secure communication channel for continued exchange, Kuroka suggested. Conventional methods would trigger automatic monitoring given my classification. Issei considered potential complications alongside evident benefits. After careful deliberation, he created small MR LD construct, crystalline structure containing fractal patterns visible only through enhanced perception. This will resonate specifically with your energy signature, he explained, offering the construct. Communication through mathematical harmonics rather than conventional methods, essentially establishing private frequency beyond standard monitoring parameters. Kuroka accepted the construct with evident fascination. Examining its intricate structure, extraordinary craftsmanship, you've essentially created personalized resonance key tuned specifically to my signature. Pattern recognite. Ion applies to individual energy characteristics as well as general principles, Issei confirmed. The construct will facilitate secure exchange while maintaining appropriate boundaries. She studied him with newfound appreciation beyond previous assessment. Your evolutionary approach truly transcends conventional development paradigms. Not merely power acquisition but fundamental understanding expressing through practical innovation. Quote, before departing, Kuroka offered unexpected gesture, creating small crystalline construct of her own design. Senjutsu practitioners can establish life force connections through resonant harmonics, she explained, offering her creation. This will allow you to perceive fundamental senjutsu principles beyond theoretical understanding. Issei accepted the gift with appropriate respect, his system immediately analyzing its complex structure. Analyzing construct, senjutsu resonance key, function, life force perception enhancement, methodologue, why, harmonic attunement to natural frequencies, integration potential, significant, evolutionary opportunity, substantial, thank you, he acknowledged sincerely. Practical demonstration, supplements theoretical understanding in meaningful development. Kuroka smiled, genuine expression rather than tactical presentation. Perhaps next time we meet, you'll have progressed beyond perception toward practical application. Your analytical framework suggests unprecedented approach to senjutsu principles. With graceful movement belying her substantial power, she vanished into pre-dawn shadows, not teleporting but moving with such perfect environmental integration that conventional perception could not track her departure. The demonstration itself provided additional insight into advanced yokai techniques, which Issei's system immediately catalogued for future reference. Returning to guest quarters as morning approached, Issei initiated meditation to process accumulated information from this extraordinary day. Between formal diplomatic exchange, security incident resolution, philosophical discussions with Yasaka, and unexpected knowledge sharing with Kuroka, his system had collected unprecedented data regarding yokai methodologies. Yokai knowledge integration in progress. Harmonic principles categorized. Senjutsu fundamentals analyzed. Evolutionary pathway. Life force resonance. Adaptation potential. Exceptional. Unlike previous supernatural encounters focusing primarily on power expression or tactical application, yokai methodology emphasize deharmonious integration with existing patterns, essentially perceiving and amplifying natural frequencies rather than imposing artificial constructs. This approach aligned naturally with his analytical framework, suggesting evolutionary pathway emphasizing mathematical elegance alongside practical capability. Tomorrow would bring private instruction from Yasaka herself, extraordinary opportunity T. O learn from nine-tailed fox master whose harmonics demonstrated mathematical perfection beyond conventional understanding. Beyond immediate knowledge value, this exchange would strengthen alliance with significant supernatural faction during increasingly unstable political landscape. Meanwhile, unconventional connection with Kuroka offered alternative perspective outside established hierarchies. Valuable counterbalance to official narratives during complex supernatural developments. While maintaining appropriate caution regarding her outlaw classification, Issei recognized potential benefits from knowledge exchange with Senjutsu master whose understanding transcended conventional frameworks. These developments collectively suggested accelerating evolution beyond previous parameters, not her raw power acquisition but expanding comprehension of diverse supernatural expressions. By understanding mathematical commonalities connecting seemingly disparate systems, his development proceeded toward integration rather than accumulation, harmony through comprehension rather than dominance through force. As dawn illuminated ancient shrine buildings through paper windows, Issei completed integration of today's experiences into his evolving understanding. Whatever path lay ahead through increasingly complex supernatural landscape, his fundamental approach remained consistent: analysis before application, understanding before utilization, wisdom before power. The infinite evolution system continued its unprecedented development, not toward predetermined outcome but through continuous expansion of mathematical comprehension connecting all supernatural expressions. And at its core remained human appreciation for elegant patterns underlying diverse manifestations, the yokai resonance. Harmonizing with his analytical nature in perfect mathematical symphony. Chapter 3 End. The End. Remember to subscribe and like this video. See you in the next video.